We're gonna get it in time.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Crap! All right. We're starting the space news with a rocket launch, okay? Here. Look.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Let's go!
T-minus 10.
I got it!
9,
I did it in time!
8,
Yes!
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Sound suppressor is on.
1.
Ignition.
0. Ignition. Go Falcon, go Starlink.
We got a liftoff. Starlink 1717 out of Vandenberg Space Force Base.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
That's a pretty good start to space news, huh? Pretty good. Where'd the sound go? Hello? Doesn't sound like Vandenberg. Where's the fog? Yeah, I know. Do we?
Power and telemetry nominal.
Okay, that answers that. Nah, it's just a Falcon 9.
Falcon 9 supersonic.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Actually, the booster that's flying today is 1081 on its 23rd flight. This is actually a booster that's, well, relatively up there comparatively to the rest of the Falcon fleet. A lot of the boosters that have been flying lately have been very new boosters. He sounded so bored. Yeah, right. Beautiful shot at coast of California there. Look at that place. That's Pismo Beach up there, dude. Really nice. There's Slick 6 right there. Ah, yeah. It's a sign that they should have launched shuttles from there or something. Hey guys, okay, quick questions here. Do we usually, is the camera usually on this side for Vandenberg? I seem to recall off the top of my head being able to see Santa Barbara on Vandenberg Starlink missions, and Santa Barbara's over there. This is the opposite side of Falcon. Okay, stand by for staging. Yeah, we usually don't see Pismo.
Stage separation confirmed.
Okay, we got a good set. Upper stage ignition. Yeah, maybe they installed the control point backwards.
MVAC startup.
It's been swapped for a bit. Yeah. Oh, dude, look at that shot. Freaking Southern California, dude.
Fairing separation confirmed.
All right, everything looks good here. I'm gonna get a shot of that fairing separation, or oh no, there they go. Watch over there, right screen. There it is. Bye-bye. They're gonna reuse those. Those come back down. They re-enter and they parachute down into the water and they fish them out. Dude, just three and a half minutes ago, that rocket was over there. Like on the coast. Like now it's going almost 10,000 kilometers an hour. That's pretty good. That's pretty neat. I mean, they definitely are quick. Yeah, Sad, do it, man. Good call. Does SpaceX ever list their reuse milestones for fairings? Sometimes they tell us, Fake Brit, and sometimes they do not. There have been casts where they have explained it. The fairings do have serial numbers on the sides of them now. They're at the very bottom, like a my head's a fairing. I don't know. It is full of empty space, but like right here, like right where it attaches to the second stage, there are serial numbers. We just usually can't see them. That's all. Why isn't the altitude in feet like how airliners do? I don't know. 110 kilometers is 370,000 feet. Something like that. Actually, it's it's close enough. You want feet? Go watch a Blue Origin launch. That's right. You would have liked your kid. I would have liked your kid's school play. It was about writing the Constitution. Hell yeah, man. That history, dude. The American Revolution should be mandatory for every American. Like, that's really, really important. That's a really important part of our history, how this country got made. Should be mandatory. And if you don't pass like American civics, you shouldn't get a high school diploma. Yeah, there, I said it. You should have to stay there until you pass it.
Stage 1 FTS is safe.
Nice, Bob. There you go.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Here we go. Supersonic retro propulsion. I was wondering how US gets made. I haven't watched it yet, Victory, no. There's the supersonic retro propulsion. Teachers had the kids memorize the preamble.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty, do ordain or establish this Constitution of the United States of America. Boom. Yeah, I forgot a line. It was at the beginning, but I got most of it. It has all the freedom juice. That's right. Right? No, they made us memorize it in 7th grade for extra credit, and I memorized it because I'm good at that. Ensure domestic tranquility. Yeah, that's right. I told you I forgot one bit of it, but I got most of it. You've read the Federalist Papers?
Stage 1 transonic.
Federalist Papers would, if more people read the Federalist Papers nowadays, I think everybody would get along a lot easier. But
Stage 2 FTS is safe.
Screw history, right? We don't need none of that. I got my phone. Okay. Okay, but that 250 is in 13
Stage 1
years.
landing burn.
You need to do the declaration. Yeah, exactly. All right.
Stage 2 in terminal guidance.
We got a landing burn. Stage 2 is terminal guidance. Closed loop. Got a shot on, of course, I Still Love You. The drone ship. Boosters gliding down.
Deployed.
Grid fins are moving. Landing leg deploy. Grid fins locked on thrust vector control. Coming down. Right in the dead center, we have an engine shutdown. And
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
a good landing on booster 1081, completing its 23rd flight. Stand by for staging here. We should be seeing about 28,000 kilometers an hour and change at 138. And yeah, they went faster.
I'm back shut down.
Just a smidge faster. 28,550 at 137. Bitchin'. Another successful
Nominal orbit
Starlink.
insertion.
Good call for nominal orbit insertion, baby. There we go. What's the current stage 1 record? 32 flights, I believe. All right. Great Starlink mission. How's that for a way to start space news? That's pretty neat. How neat is that? All right. I still can't believe they do that like every other day. It is pretty freaking impressive. Yes, yeah, it's pretty impressive. That's pretty cool. Well, that's pretty neat. All right, so let me just get... Mm, mm, mm. Give me 1 second. Let me start getting the links. I have a ton of DMs here. All right, there we go. So actually, guys, what I really wanted to do is kind of go over NASA's ignition plans for this space news. He's not coming in to eat, is he? No. I will after space news. Okie dokie. Bree, unless you want to, if you wanted to bring, some food out for me, if you wanted to. I know it's a little bit of a hike. You know, 33 is the record, though it's flying tomorrow, I believe. Let me take a look. It's not easy to bring out. Okay. All right. Well, then, yeah, we're going to have to pack it up. Get in. Let me begin. Yeah, 1067 is flying on Sunday. That launch moved to Sunday. Flight 34, 1067. That's pretty good, dude. Be nice to your wife. I am. Thank you for your ignition review. That was overwhelming. Yeah, I kind of wanted to go through it a little bit more. So there's on Tuesday, guys, NASA better be enough for all of us. No, there isn't. She cooks food for me, not for you. I'm the husband, not you. Approaching the Discovery record. That's right. That's right. I didn't know you were married. Yeah. I got a wife and a dog and a house with a white picket fence, dude. Why is that weird, Davensky? Why would you be like, well, I didn't know that. What do you think? What do you think? I just sit here alone all day? No. The key is to get your wife to do that too. Yeah, and 6 cars. Oh God. Yeah. All right. What did you say? I diced all these carrots and you don't even care. What do you want me to do? I have to entertain all these guests now. Yeah, you have to sit alone all day? Yeah, no, find a wife that likes doing that. Bree likes playing video too. She's what are you playing? Propecia? Prime rib of Propecia or something? Or preparation H or something? What are you playing? Pokatopia? I don't know. I don't really care. I just like guilt tripping you through chat. All right, whatever. I'll be down there. I'll grab a bite after space news, okay? I was driving home last night and freaking died when you said Propecia. Bakalaka Dapa Kapapia or whatever. Pocopia. Preparation Achia. All right. So ignition. Let's do this. So NASA on Tuesday. NASA on Tuesday rolled out their plans, their new revised space plans based off of the space policy from the president and kind of an additional shakeup to the Artemis program. She's praying Spriapane. You'd get addicted to this game too. I know I would, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to give you crap about you getting addicted to it. I know good and well. It's like if you were addicted to drugs, I would laugh at you. But that doesn't mean drugs aren't addictive. Okay? Right? If you need help, get help. Procopium. Procopia. Oh, jeez. Did you read all the RFIs? I have not read all the RFIs, one man. No. I don't want to get addicted to Propecia. Holy shit. We have derailed. we have derailed. I don't want to get addicted to I gotta go poopy. Pacopia seems like a pretty cool game, to be honest with you. There's space shuttles in it, guys. I've seen it. I seen it when my wife was playing. So 1062, your biggest takeaway from Ignition was that a lot of NASA management problems were easily fixed. Just need a new administrator. Look at Viper, for example. Yeah, 1062. I am not going to sit here and say that Jared Isaacman is changing things up at NASA look very simple. Now, the flip side of that is that, look, Jared's gone in there, and I think he's done a decent job thus far. I've disagreed with a couple of ways he's trying to do stuff. Like, I honestly didn't think getting rid of the EUS was a good idea. I really didn't think so. You'd only get rid of the EUS if you don't plan on using SLS for very long, and I also think that that's a bad idea. Yeah. I really don't, the way they were talking about it is that after the last SLS flight, so the sixth flight, they're going to look for more commercial options to move Orion around. I'm not entirely sure what that means and why you would do that, unless, for instance, that Bloomberg article we saw the other day where there's a random Bloomberg article that just came out that said Orion's going to dock with Starship in low Earth orbit, and Starship is going to push Orion out to the moon for like future lunar missions. I would assume that's part of Jared Isaacman's future plans got leaked, and that's where that article came from. Because without SLS, you're not getting Orion anywhere near the moon. Now, once again, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that SLS would be fine. I've always said that SLS should probably end up flying, I'd say 20 times over the next 10 years and then pivot to commercial. I think that would be a much more sustainable thing to do. It would not be it would not be the cheapest thing to do, but I also don't believe in shortchanging NASA either, something that everybody else seems to really be okay with. And I don't think that's a good idea. Were you complaining about the EUS forever? Geek, yeah, I was complaining about the EUS. It's not a good design, but the truth of the reality of that is that I'd take that over nothing, because nothing is what's going to happen. The way, like I said, dude, the way it's set up is gives NASA an off-ramp from SLS, which is, I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't think it's a good idea. I think NASA should always have an in-house vehicle. I really do. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's the other thing. So Jared Isaacman in Ignition, they very for the lunar base and for the future lunar programs, like for crew exploration and stuff, they're leaning heavily into commercial. They right down to commercializing everything but Orion for the most part, which I don't think that's a good idea. I may not like the EUS, but I would want that more than nothing. Nothing is not great. So they talk about doing all kinds of commercialization, putting out all the RFIs for every single component that they're going to need for the moon base. The moon base stuff seems to be pretty damn well thought out. It's actually, like I said, it's not, ow, go away. That was the launch audio from the launch that just happened. So here, let's go here. I'm trying to find a slide here from this. This is where I left off because I was looking for it. So Carlos Garcia Galan came up there and had a lot of really cool slides that detail out NASA's plans over the next couple of phases or the next couple of years. There it is. So look, none of these are using SLS. This is all commercial. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But also at the same time, this leans way too heavy into commercial for my taste, dude. This is a good idea. I really like this cadence of launches, right? But I used to think that just yeet SLS entirely. However, listening to you explain things brought a very valid perspective, and that's changed my mind entirely. Yeah, Vert, that's good. I'm glad. I'm not like some crazy, like, you know, SLS is the end all be all. I think it's dude, I hate throwing shuttle engines away. I think that's the dumbest thing you could have thought of doing. Like quite actually the stupidest freaking thing. If NASA had a Saturn V right now, I'd be saying the same thing. Like it's not like I'm some crazy SLS fanboy. It really stems from I think that NASA should have their own rockets. I don't want him to deny me buying a t-shirt. XL. Ship it to the P.O. box. How much of this is already under contract? Couple of things here and here. Now, like, guys, here's my big thing, all right? I don't mind this plan. This plan is really cool. It's $20 billion over the next 8 years. That's to the tune of $3 billion a year, and it seems like they're repurposing gateway funds for it, so that's a good idea. All right, that's fair. The thing is okay, here's my main thing with this, my main beef with this whole plan. Other than SLS, I really think you should ramp up SLS and not ramp it down, because they keep saying like, oh, we're going to standardize it and we're going to increase the flight cadence, etc., etc. Yeah, but the part that they're failing to mention is that they're going to fly it to Artemis 6 and then never fly it again. They're going to increase flight cadence for the time being and then have commercial contractors move Orion around? Question? What are you going to do when there's no more SLSs to fly? Are we going to put Orion on top of Vulcan? The rocket that has the SRBs explode? We're going to do that. Is that the plan? What else flies with a Centaur 5 on top of it, right? Yeah, how do you increase cadence when it's only 3 flights? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I told that to people the other day, and people were like very confused. They're like, oh yeah, they're going to standardize it. They're going to buy a bunch of Centaur 5s. Yeah, they're buying 3 for Artemis 4, 5, and 6, and that's it. That doesn't sound like standardization to me, even though they keep calling it that. That I don't think that word means what you think it means. EJ, kind of curious, after SLS, will the VAB basically be abandoned? They'll probably pawn it off to commercial people to use and try to make a business case for somebody utilizing the VAB, and no one's going to do that because there is no market for building a rocket as big as the Saturn V, except if you're SpaceX. This is exactly what I'm talking about. I think I do like a lot of the ignition plans, but it leans way too much into commercial. There's no guarantees. So Artemis 6 is going to be by the end of the decade, okay? Because they want to do Artemis 3 in 2027, Artemis 4 and 5 in 2028, and Artemis 6 in 2029. That means that means no more SLSs after 2029. Do we honestly think the commercial market is going to be healthy, and the commercial space industry is going to be healthy enough to facilitate this in the next 3 years? It's an honest question. I'm not trying to prove a point. I like commercial. I think commercial is a good idea. But by NASA's own freaking admission, later in the meeting, they said that the commercial low Earth orbit market has failed to materialize. at the ISS. NASA has been operating off a modus operandi for the last 10 to 20 years that eventually, if they sell seats to the ISS, eventually they will, they'll get a return on investment, which is, they've been lying for the last 20 years. That's a nice way of saying that. I can't believe they admitted it. But also, if the commercial low Earth orbit market is failing to materialize in the form of stations and resources, what the hell makes you think that commercial is going to lean into this? This is going to the lunar surface. I don't know, guys. Call me crazy, but that doesn't sound smart. The ISS situation is commercial demand, not commercial launch supply. That's okay, Odin. I'll give you that one. That's a good point. Do you think that NASA has reliable data that could suggest that both Starship and New Glenn can kick it into high gear in the coming few years? Vert, that's possible, yeah. But even having Starship and New Glenn, that's neither of those rockets do exactly. None of them are a analog for SLS's capability, right? New Glenn's a beast. It's a great rocket. Where's that getting? If you put an Orion on top of it, don't get me wrong, that'd be freaking sick. But if you put an Orion on top of that, where's that going? That's going to get you nowhere near the moon. Not without refueling. Same with Starship, right? None of them is going to be able to shoot shoot Orion off to the moon in one shot like SLS is. You did say a while back that once Starship gets human rated, SLS would become obsolete. And unfortunately, it would appear that something like that is now a possibility. Lava, if Starship gets a human rating, sure. If Starship gets a human rating and NASA starts procuring Starships for their own use, right? An airline doesn't pay Boeing for a 737 and its pilots to fly it around, right? Right? They buy the 737 and they provide the pilots. If NASA wants to move to a form of procurement like that, I don't have a problem with that. But getting rid of SLS and not getting rid of Orion is like saying I want the flight deck of a 737 and then you guys provide me with the rest of the airplane. Who the hell is going to do that? Companies are going to want to dig the moon for money. Yeah, I've heard that point. Paul, that's actually not a bad point, that lunar resource extraction could be a way to foster a market on the surface of the moon. I wouldn't be against something like that. That's not a bad idea. But once again, okay, look, this has 3 phases that go for the next 10 years. All right. You have 3 phases that go for the next 10 years. By this phase right here, you have no clear way. From right here on, you have no clear way of getting to the moon. Right? There's no clear way to get to the moon from 2029 onwards. How are we getting people out there? Look, I know 2029 seems like it's a little ways away. And yeah, if the commercial market takes off right here, and resource extraction becomes a thing, and there's, great, we foster a lunar economy, that's fantastic. How are you getting people out there? Industrial towns come and go. Resources demand changes. Cities that survive are based on residential infrastructure. There's no low Earth orbit destination. Hence, to industry, we need a moon resort. See, you know what, Drew? That makes more sense if you want to make the case that why even bother with low Earth orbit? If low Earth orbit stations is going to be the dirigible of space flight exploration or commercial space exploration, yeah, sure. I would, yeah, that's not actually a dirigible, I think would be a really good analogy. Guys, in the 20s and into the 30s, everybody thought that blimps were going to be the future of transatlantic crossing, right? It's basically a cruise ship that flies through the air. And then, then the Hindenburg happened in 1937, and that didn't help. But we already realized by that point that was a dead-end technology. That's not good for a transatlantic crossing. Perhaps perhaps low Earth orbit is going to, commercial low Earth orbit habitation is going to go the way of the dirigible. Just treat it like airspace, right? That makes sense. That makes sense to me. Airships couldn't fly above the weather. Not entirely sure how that's relevant, but yeah, sure. NASA has had no direction for many years. Probably would be better to shut it down and start again. Well, I mean, Paul, this is about as close as you're going to get to doing that. Yet aircraft can, same with Leo and beyond low Earth orbit. I understand what you're saying, but I do not understand how it... Are you agreeing with me that low Earth orbit habitation might be a dead-end technology? I'm not even sure. Yes. Yeah, okay, cool. All right. Just wanted to make sure I got my head on straight. Zeppelins are still cool, though. And Oliver, a commercial space station in low Earth orbit would be really nice, but there's nothing there. That's the problem. You're trying to build a station out, and unless it's for like scientific research in microgravity, there's really not much more application here. Did we discuss how exactly we plan to pay for all this? $10 billion for each section. They're repurposing the money from Gateway initially for phase 1. I mean, that's what they're trying to do. NASA used to be the leaders in aerospace. What happened? Paul, I know you. You're a good buddy of mine, so I'm going to give you the candid answer. We listen to hippies too much. That's why NASA isn't the leader anymore. Because they listen to hippies too much. Why this rocket's so expensive? Why? Well, children could eat that. Think of the children. They could eat it. They could eat all of it. That. The reality of the situation is that it's not. Child hunger is unacceptable, and that shouldn't be happening. We can do both of these things. You know how we can. I know we can do both of these things because that's what we used to do before we started listening to idiotic people like that. Just saying. Yeah. I hate people that are critical of the space program that come in and say, well, that money could be better used somewhere else. Well, no, it can't. You're an idiot. You are not smart. No, it cannot. And that's, guys, and once again, be careful, because the people that say SLS is too expensive, we should defund it, they think, people that say that think that money is going to stay with NASA. No. Any politician or critic that's saying that SLS is too expensive, we should get rid of it when there's no replacement. It's double speak for saying defund NASA. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Canceling SLS right now is defunding NASA without capability to get to the moon. There's no two ways to cut that. You could bitch and moan about the price tag all you want. It is defunding NASA. And I will not budge on that, because that's exactly what it is. So, like, that's why I say, like, this is great, right? And okay, I suppose you guys have sold me on a lunar economy probably being better to develop with commercial partners. That's not bad. Still, who's in the market for building a rocket to get there other than SpaceX and Blue? How does Orion jive with the HLS and SLD landers? How does that work? This stream is more fun than March Madness? Hell yeah. Just like Starlink and data centers, once there's critical mass over the price to orbit, space stations will make sense. I would hope so, Ruan. Yeah, that'd be great, dude. Yeah. Nixon hate is not allowed. Apologies again because Nixon hated Kennedy. Every other reason was a logical excuse. I mean, it ain't no coincidence that a lot of naval bases in Massachusetts got bracked in the early 70s when Richard Nixon was in office. Charlestown Navy Yard, South Boston Naval Annex, Hingham Arsenal. Just saying. Philly, what's up, man? SpaceX uses Starship to go to the moon, and Blue develops their own capsule. Who needs Orion at that point? Okay, Philly, brother, you know how long this stuff's going to take. Is that happening by 2029? Honestly, Honest question. I'm actually asking you. This is not meant to be a rhetorical question. I guarantee the hippies were into space exploration. The people we listened to were the people like Aqualex. Yeah, it's a little bit of a catch-all term, but we don't need to split hairs on it. The point is that we listen to advice about how we should run our space program about people that know nothing about space programs. They just see something they don't like and try to pick it off because it's low-hanging fruit. I will not compromise on our space program, ever. Ever. Again. We should not compromise on nothing. I'm not listening to those people. Those people can get bent. If we buy the hype Starship is, yeah, sure, but you don't know about Blue. I mean, you know good and well, dude, operating a crew, man rating a capsule takes time. I'm not saying that we can't do it. It takes time. That's all. To be completely honest, I doubt SpaceX will be ready for a moon mission in 2028. And that's what I'm saying, dude. Oliver EJ for president. Brother, people would not like me as president. I would make a lot of enemies really fast because I would tell the truth. So we'd end up not getting anything done because, too real. They'd be like, EJ, how are you going to solve this problem? Space flight. Okay, well, that's good. That's good. It'd be like that Chappelle Show sketch, Black Bush. I'd be like, well, you're focusing on all this stuff. What's going on with the war? What about this? What about that? No. I'm talking about space, brother. The United States of space. I'm not stopping at the moon. Write this down. MARS. Mars, chat. Red rocks. Yeah. That would be me if I was the president. It wouldn't end well. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not stopping at the moon. Yeah, the moon. Yeah, I said it. The moon. We're going, baby. Talk about the United States of space. United Space of America. Yeah, Oliver, that wouldn't end well. that wouldn't end well at all. But anyway, as long as I'm breathing and as long as I'm above ground, I will keep telling you, do not compromise on our space program. Do not listen to people that try to guilt trip you into thinking it's too expensive. That's a load of crap. Do not guilt trip people into saying that there's a less expensive way to do it when we have no alternative. That is a crock of crap. Those people are idiots. Don't listen to them. NASA owns space. Yep. 100%. So many things we don't know we didn't get from Apollo applications, STS or SPS as proposed. Plenty of our problems could have been solved from tech that came out of those. Yep. That's right. To me, the main questionable part of the plan is Centaur and lander readiness. It's plausible uncrewed could be faster, but I doubt they will phase development to enable that. Yeah, dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is a hugely ambitious plan, and this relies on us somehow having a way to get to the moon post-2029 after SLS stops flying, which doesn't make any sense to me. I see, that's what I mean about a really, really, really bad... You don't want to get rid of it because it's too expensive when you have no alternative. That's like saying I need to commute to work with a car and I only have a Ferrari. I'm better off with no car. When let's just say that your commute is not within walkable biking and there's no mass transit system, right? So your only way to get to work is a Ferrari, right? Would you rather have the Ferrari or would you rather have nothing? Right? Because you're not going to be able to commute to work if you don't have anything else, right? SLS carries a heavy price tag, but it carries a heavy price tag because there's no commercial market there. No one's going to build a rocket to go to the moon. Even post 2029, you're going to have to resort to some EOR style architecture. I don't think that's wise. I really don't think that's a good idea. And I'm not some SLS fanboy. I understand the criticisms. One launch in 15 years is unacceptable. All right. If Jared Isaacman said, like, screw SLS after that, we're just going to rebuild the Saturn V, I would be okay with this plan. I'd be like, yeah, hell yeah, let's do that. That's a good call. But there's no alternative. They want to lean into commercial after that, which means SLS is getting canceled after the 6th flight, which is dumb. That's a bad idea. I had a Ferrari. I'd rather walk. I mean, well, Paul, see, no, you'd rather walk. No, see, if you live in a place where it's cold, then, you know, commuting to work in a Ferrari could work for you twofold. It could pay dividends because you can stay warm when it catches on fire, and you also get closer to your destination, dude. It's great. You can't lose. Just saying. Last, please. What do you think? What do you got for me? Would launching it make it get cheaper too? Correct, Bandit. Yes. If funding from SLS went to commercial, would you be fine with that? Potentially, RJ. I'd need to see how I would want architecture. Okay, who's it going to? What's your architecture? How are you getting to the moon? Lava, what's your last? They clearly didn't expect the first full flight of V3 to be, what, 5 minutes? They clearly didn't expect the first flight of V3 to be, what, 5 months after the last V2 flight. They still have so much to do. Getting to orbit, arguably already done. Orbital refilling, rapid reusability for said refilling. That's what I mean. I'm not saying that Starship won't be successful either. I'm a huge Starship fanboy, dude. I love SpaceX. I'm not wearing this damn shirt for no reason. Like, I ain't wearing it for no reason, dude. But also at the same time, I would prefer to let SpaceX take their time with building a fully reusable vehicle and just keep using SLS. What is that going to cost you? An extra couple $1 billion over the next, you know, like, let's say it costs $10 billion over the next 10 years, or well, I mean, yeah, that sounds about right. SLS launches for about $1 billion a pop, right? That $10 billion buys down the risk for SpaceX because they can take their time. They're not beholden to a lunar landing deadline, right? And you let them cook. What, are they not going to go at it quickly? They'll still get it done fast. Right? But do you think it's going to be ready in 2029? Do you think Starship's going to be human rated in freaking 3 years? I love Starship, dude, but dude, a lot of things have to go right for that to happen, right? Like, a lot of things have to go right. Green, what's up? Also, we're talking about a crewed Starship variant for this. We haven't seen any hardware for crewed Starship operations, and we have what? 3.5 years? Yeah, man, yeah, okay, cool. We're all on the same page there. What about Rocket Lab? Not big enough. They don't have a big enough rocket to get people out to the moon in one shot, Paul. Tomorrow's Flame Trench is going to be spicy. Yeah, I'm not, and part of this today, guys, is for me to kind of make sure I understand this better and reiterate it to you guys. Like, this isn't so much me explaining how everything works, but us going back and forth having conversations just to solidify these ideas. Philichis, unfortunately, with the IPO, they can't go slow. Shareholders aren't going to be happy when there's no progress for their quarterly report. Yep. Well, hang on. Can't we just transfer people on orbit? Sure, Balkans. Yeah, of course. We could transfer people on orbit. To what? How are we doing that? What are we transferring people to? Starship? Starship still needs to refuel like 20 times, dude. How are you going to get to the moon expediently? We need 3 lunar missions over the next 3 years. Nuclear cycler. See, Kraken, in your opinion, 9x4 New Glenn gets to the level of 4 to 6 flights a year. Until 9x4 New Glenn gets to the level of 4 to 6 flights a year, I think SLS is our best bet to get to the moon. That's what I'm saying, dude. I don't think that is a good idea. I think this rightly leans into commercial, but I think it leans into commercial too much post 2029 for phase 2. I really don't think that's smart. Gwen Shotwell said in an interview recently that they are planning for HLS in 2028, but that would require a lot of things to go right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Rushing things to build a base on the moon is asking for something bad to happen. Congress and NASA have had almost 50 years for this, and nothing has been done. Green, if you learn anything from my stream when it comes to timelines, it's show me the hardware. I don't see hardware, and frankly, I don't see the hardware by 2029. That's right, man. Where's our HLS prototype? Where's Blue Moon Mark II? I really, honestly, and truly think pivoting to commercial at this point in time is a very stupid idea. And that's why I started this whole kind of thing with don't believe people that, like, people that say, oh, we should just commercialize everything with NASA. That is double speak for let's defund NASA. Gibber, what's up? Obviously, China and Russia don't release as much public information on their space flights and such, but I never hear much about their programs other than some race back to the moon. Where would be a good place to look for more info on their programs? There's a couple of X accounts, dude, that cover the Chinese space program pretty well. I forget their names. Yeah. SpaceX also still hasn't done a real re-entry. They always seem to kind of wing it by removing some tiles here and there. That's not going to fly for much longer. I think Ship 39 has all of its tiles, Lava. I think it's missing 1 the last time we saw it, but I have a feeling it's going to be missing 0 when we see it again. They have to have something already figured out by this point. Correct. Over the next 4 years, up till 2030, what rocket do you think will send the most mass to lunar soil? Over the next 4 years? Probably New Glenn, if I had to say New Glenn or Starship. It's one or the other. I feel like our best bet is making SLS into a Saturn V type rocket where it carries the lander and it docks in lunar orbit. Co-manifested payloads, Bandit. Yeah, that was my idea. That's why I said I don't think sphere of influence. Oh, if you're getting into lunar SOI, I mean, yeah, SLS probably, yeah. It's all about if Rick can pull off all this streamlining and congressional smoothing. Problem with the plan is folks don't think it can happen, not the plan itself. Yeah, Bob, that's what I'm saying. This plan is great. I want to be very clear. I'd be totally good with this plan if SLS was flying well into the 2030s. Like, if we had 2 SLS launches a year, even with the Centaur 5, from here on out, I would have no problems with this plan at all. This is a great idea. This is very comprehensive. It's very well thought out. I'm a little bit wondering how you're going to commercialize the power generation systems, the landers, the base components. I'd be very curious about how that's going to show, like, if industry is actually going to bite into helping developing these projects. That's a lot of risk to put on commercial. Personally, I think NASA should be taking that risk. If you really want my honest opinion, I think NASA should be the ones that build out the initial lunar base capability, and then everything else should be supplemental, commercial, and logistics. Supplemental commercial payloads and supplemental commercial logistics. That's what I'm trying to say. One of the best places to learn about the Chinese space program is the NSF forums. Actually, Leah, that's a good point. A single Starship landing on the moon will be more tons at the surface than 4 Blue Moon Mark II landers. Yeah, but when is that going to happen, 1062? I'm well aware of its payload downmass capability. Given today's economy, what is 10 billion going to mean in 2033? Another interesting question, Aldesert. This is why I think it's better to just develop the whole architecture right now instead of just developing it long-term over time. We've all seen the fruits of that labor to the tune of $93 billion for the SLS program over the last 10 years, which has warranted us 1 launch and might get us 2 in the next week. It's better to just buy up front, dude. That's why I'm saying block buys make sense, because it's a hedge against inflation and it provides long-term sustainability. Yeah. Is NASA betting big on New Glen's 9x4? I don't know. Now, username, let me put it to you like this, dude. I don't think Blue Origin would build out 9x4 New Glenn unless unless they had a customer for it. It doesn't make sense otherwise, unless you had a customer for building this, right? It's got to be a use case for it. What's the use case for a rocket like that? Here, I'll show you guys what Nuglin's 9x4 is. Give me one moment. What's your use case for that rocket on the right? I like 2x4. It's quite a stud. I was always more partial to 4x4s. They're way stronger, but, you know, and you can go off-road with them. Tried to piggyback off of it. 9x4x1 for Geo and Lunar. That's, Philly, that's your use case for something like that, dude. Look at that thing. That thing's a monster. You got an 8-meter fairing, right? A freaking gigantor 9x4 second stage, and frankly, a New Glenn, the 9x4 first stage is just that on drugs. You know, it's a roided out version of a 7x2. I mean, fellas, look at the payload. Look at the capacity here. You could fit the LEM and the CSM on top of this thing, no problem. I'm still not 100% sure if 9x4 is going to... I don't think... Just because 9x4 is taller than the Saturn V, I don't think it's going to have similar payload capacity. I actually think it's less. You suspect 9x4 might be only for Mark II and refuel flights. I doubt it'll be crew rated. Fins are cool. Personally, I think 9x4 looks a little goofy. I like 7x2. I think 7x2 looks ace. That is a beautiful rocket. Would it be a bad idea for NASA to get consultation from SpaceX when it comes to setting up rocket hardware for SLS production lines? Yeah, Verd, I don't think that would be a stupid thing to do, but the SLS program is very horizontally integrated. That's very at odds with what SpaceX is. Not to be a jerk, but a render is just a render until they actually show hardware. Correct. Yeah, I think so. I think that would be fair. I think it's 60 tons to Leo compared to 140 for the Saturn V. NASA, guys, like, yeah. Why not just use that rocket in the middle? That's what I was just about to say, dude. That's what I was just about to say. Can you just make that thing in the center again? Can we just make a modernized version? Don't give me that slobber about how, oh, we can't do it. We don't know how to. No, that's right. We can't do it. We don't know how to. We can make something better. Damn it. Press release says 70 tons Leo, 28 TLI. 28 to TLI. So, Philly, that means if it's 28 to translunar, that means 9x4 can shoot an Orion capsule out to the moon. But the Orion capsule can't get you any further. That means Orion could get to rectilinear halo orbit with it can get to, yeah, rectilinear halo orbit, and that's about it with 9x4. I mean, granted, that is an analog capability to SLS.
Discovery,
And maybe that's what Jared and NASA's waiting for. Hey, NeoQ, 37-month resub. Thank you. No, we can't make things better. See, SLS. Yeah, I know, right? Something is better than SLS. Do you see three-stage rockets making a comeback or being viable in the future? It's simpler to build a 2-stage rocket with restart capability, Wheathin, but I'd say for lunar applications, it would probably be a good idea. SLS is technically a 3-stage rocket. Is there any use case for Orion in rectilinear halo if gateways act? No, there is not. New Glenn 9x4 is still less capable than the potential capability of a Falcon Heavy with a beefed-up core stage to take the weight. Orion can't land. It's not going to deliver cargo. What's the heaviest payload that any current lander can manage? Lander or one-man? 100 tons with Starship, HLS. Any news on Intuitive Machines' lunar global positioning satellites? I've heard nothing. Intuitive Machines did get a... they did get a contract to land more things on the moon. I'm not 100% sure why. Because they haven't landed anything. I do like Intuitive Machines, though. Steve Artemis runs that company. I like him. I think that dude's cool. I like him and Tim Crane. I think they do good work, but their lunar landers keep tipping over. That is, you know, kind of a problem. Orion in the service module is about 1,500 meters a second delta V, so it can't really go that far. And from rectilinear halo orbit, about 830 meters a second of that would be used to come back to Earth. I'm trying to find the thing where they're talking about Intuitive Machines. Those are the Moonfall drones. That's a JPL project. That's super cool. JPL and NASA in-house want to deploy hopper drones to help survey the landing sites. I think that's a great idea. We should do that. Just like the Surveyor program did that for Apollo. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Like I said, Carlos Garcia Galan came out. This guy came out swinging. I really do appreciate his plans. I think these phasers are awesome. I just all the stuff that you see on the screen, they want done by commercial as far as I can tell. And I'm like, I don't know if you want to do all that for commercial. Hey Dan, doesn't Artemis have flight hardware developed by Airbus? The European service module, yes. They learned their new lander is short and wide. Yeah, I'm trying to find a picture of it, Rarest. Are we just going to ignore that they used Moonbase Alpha to sim this? Is that Moonbase Alpha? No. It can't be. It can't be. Didn't Jared say something about how part of this is to find out what commercial can do and what NASA needs to do in-house? Yeah, Bree. Yeah, Yeah, that's like I said, that part I don't really have a problem with. I think that this is great. It's very comprehensive. It's very well thought out. What's the point if you don't have a way to get there? You know, to sit there and insinuate that they're going to do all this and then SLS is going out sometime in phase 2, right? Sometime during phase 2, and that there will be supplementary commercial capability is a little bit optimistic, even by my standards. And I'm like, yeah, of course we could get it done. We just got to want to, you know? Hey, Lunarbotics, wait, what was that? A terrain grading robot. They showed footage of it, dude. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Seacracken. Actually, check some of this stuff out. You'll dig it. It's pretty cool. Here.
The Next chart,
Rosebud, thank you for becoming a
talk
flight
about
controller.
Things that we want to experiment on the moon. Of course, we can also do that on Earth. We've already started. So here's some videos of folks, NASA folks, and also some of our industry partners working in some of this technology, from rovers that can go up terrain, fuel transfer, regolith preparation, manufacturing, and all kinds of things, avionics, hardening. All of these things we're already investing in, and some of these things, you know, surface mating.
Dude,
Some of these things.
I don't mind leaning into commercial to build all this stuff for you, but I don't like leaning into a promise that commercial is going to move all this stuff there in the future is kind of, let me put it this way. It could work. Sure, it could work. It probably will. But no plan survives first contact with the enemy, right? Like everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Like, I'm saying that there are very deep flaws with this plan, but that I'm not going to say that Jared Isaacman hasn't weighed pros and cons with that either, you know, like. But yeah, the lunar terrain grading robots, that's super cool. A lunar road grader. I think that's awesome, dude. Reaver, I'd want to keep SLS around until the 2040s. I don't want all my eggs in the commercial basket on transportation. Yeah. So say the commercial market takes off and SLS, you cancel SLS by 2029. Then what? How you getting there? You're going to redo your lunar logistics architecture at that point? No, at that point, just keep using SLS, damn it. Just keep using it. Now, when we say commercial, do we really mean the most expensive gas station convenience store in history for the highway to Mars? Yeah, something like that. Personally, I think SLS should fly till the end of the 2030s. 2 times a year. Actually, if I had my way, it'd be 4 times a year. 4 times a year for the next 10 years. That'd be sufficient enough. Could there be an issue with having SLS having a bottleneck to prevent scaling up SSMEs? I think propulsion is the long lead item spoil. That it also is not really great for your, you know, future super heavy lift plans if your boosters blow up on the test stand. Northrop Grumman, I'm looking at you. When is the next crawler transporter stand ready? Crawler transporter stand? Mobile launcher? Sea Kraken? I'm confused. Glad to see Vipers coming back from the dead. I did like that. Yeah, Blue Origin is going to move it. The next mobile launcher is pretty much ready now. It's like 95% done. But it's 95% done for a rocket that Jared Isaacman just canceled. Viper was done dirty by the last administration. Yes. Returning from rectilinear is about 830 meters a second. Returning from 30-kilometer low lunar is 870 meters a second. In my mind, rectilinear halo orbit makes no sense. Correct. Lava Eagle, when we first heard about Lunar Orbital Platform Gateway, LOP-G, in 2016, I said it was stupid. I like the idea that the rectilinear halo orbit is a resonant orbit that allows you, that stays within line of sight of Earth all the time. Great. Put your communication satellite there. And I'll be honest, I was kind of on board with Gateway because it was getting made. But it was supposed to be launched in 2022. You're telling me it took you 10 years to build a singular HAB module and propulsion element? Put your relays there, dude. Yeah, exactly. Are you going to cover Spectrum? I think it's on Saturday. Yeah. Are they going to try again? On Saturday, it's 1600. 1600 local, so that's 4 in the afternoon. I'll get back to you on that, dude. couldn't NASA use Mobile Launcher 2 to launch the near Block 1 SLS configuration? Hendo, yes, I think they should, but they haven't really talked about doing anything like that. They've been really talking about keep using ML1, which makes no sense to me. Would you consider Artemis 2 being the last mission for this NASA Would you consider Artemis 2 being the last mission for this NASA administration as a failure? Max, you mean if they don't get Artemis 3, 4, and 5 off by 2028? Yeah, I would. Yeah, if that happens, I would be a little upset. Yes. Pending Brimo approval. Yes, exactly. So yeah, this side of the ignition architecture, building out using commercial to build out all this, I actually super like that. It's really cool. I'm just wondering about, NASA's way to get there. I've always said that NASA needs their own way to get to the moon on top of commercial, but who knows? Guys, they also, another part of the ignition thing, that was all the changes to the Artemis program. Another thing that they talked about here was Dana Weigel, the ISS program manager, came out and said that low Earth orbit commercialization has failed to materialize on the ISS. I couldn't believe they actually said that. So NASA actually came out with an idea of attaching a new core node to the ISS initially themselves and using it as a way for commercial habitation modules, for commercial low Earth orbit destination modules to attach to. When the ISS gets decommissioned, they will pop it off and they will have a commercial low Earth orbit destination station that is anchored by a NASA-operated core node. You see that? I like that. They should do that with the moon base. That's a good idea. Yeah, commercial low Earth destination. Basically, they threw Axiom under the bus because they said they would have their station built out and attached to the space station by 2023. Nope. Thanks a lot, guys. Keep up the bad work. Hope that spacesuit doesn't suck. Wait, why not use Gateway for that? For your core node? They didn't rule it out.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
But yeah, they don't know what they're doing with the habitation and logistics outpost. You think they will keep it at 51 degrees orbit or move it? Well, if they're attaching it to the ISS Sawyer, it's going to stay in 51 degrees inclined. Is ILC Dover still in the game? Not that I know of. No, they make the orange suits. The Advanced Crew Escape Suit. 52-month resub. Thank you. Let's be honest. No one had to throw Axiom under the bus. They crawled under there all on their own. Yeah, that's about right. So this core node with commercial stations attached to it shows a Dragon and a Starliner and a Cygnus attached to it. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, I actually kind of agree with this, dude. The ISS, something like the International Space Station, a modular built on orbit space station, really only makes sense if you have something like the space shuttle. Without the shuttle, that thing is just prohibitively expensive to operate. If NASA switched to going back to doing stuff like Skylab style stations, where the station has a shelf life of like 5 to 10 years, and they just, every 5 years you build another one, and go from there. Yeah, I think that would be that's a great idea. And then commercial would be the logistics transport services. So keep going with the commercial crew program. I think that's a great idea. Personally, I think it would be a really good idea if you just took SLS and you made a space station module out of a core stage LOX tank and then sent that up there as your core node. But, you know, we can't use SLS for that because that would be bad. Notice no Dream Chaser. Yeah, I know, right? Fair enough on EJ. Jawohl. Hey, you can say whatever you want about that guy, Astro. He really knew what he was doing. I hate the selling the commander seat thing. Yes. What would NASA astronauts do after the ISS is decommissioned if everything becomes commercial? And Lava, that's kind of another thing that I'm talking about. They talked about selling the commander's seat on this space station. What does that even entail? What does that mean? I think that is a bad idea. And once again, that feeds into, I think they're leaning way too heavily into commercial here. They're reliant on a market that frankly does not exist. They want to lean into commercializing everything, and that market is not there. I mean, we get it. They got no money, but hell, Lava, that, I guess, like, with ignition and stuff, with this whole presentation is just beating around the bush. The real truth here is that NASA has no money to get this stuff done. You know, people ask Jared Isaacman, and he's like, oh, well, we can shift money around. Yeah, you can shift money around if you want to go to the moon with table scraps, right? Like, I think it's really stupid that we're sitting here. We have to sit here and we have to amalgamate our architecture to the moon with a commercial market that frankly doesn't exist. When we claim that spaceflight is some national priority here. Like, okay, if it's a national priority, why don't we give the money? If it's a national priority, why don't we have a base on the moon already? You know, like, granted, you know, I would argue that it hasn't been a national priority until the current presidential incumbent, but people don't want to hear that. You should cut the salary of everybody in Congress and use that money for NASA. It's a good idea. On the bigger things, apparently companies wanted was to get all 4 seats on a trip up. NASA has, up to this point, required they pay for a NASA astronaut seat. So for them to command the mission, so 3 seats for the price of 4. Yeah, I get it. I hate to admit it, but you're right. It was just a bunch of, we're putting out RFIs to get industry ideas for this. They follow up with contracts for sure, but NASA can't cover 100% of the bill. And once again, I see what Rook is doing. He's making lemons with lemonade. He's making lemonade with lemons because, frankly, this is all lemons. We have just an amalgamated architecture that's completely fragmented. There's no clear way to get to the moon here. And there's especially no clear way to get to the moon after 2029. But, yeah. It's not just wanting to option the 4th seat of the crew vessel instead of it needing an Axiom or VAST employee with previous ISS experience. Is it not just doing that? Maybe. In this case, could be used by other commercial or NASA. Could choose to add another astronaut to the mission for more experience. Yeah, maybe. I just, Andrew, I've always thought the idea of NASA abandoning low Earth orbit and you know, having it move entirely to commercial is, you know, for a while I thought that was a good idea. For a while. And then, you know, it wasn't. Deadeye, it seems like SpaceX already has plans to create their own lunar economy, just like they did with Falcon 9 and Starlink. What other company has plans to stay sustained beyond NASA paying them a ride to the moon? Not much. I'll be very surprised if that lunar thing with SpaceX, if the second phase of Terrafab, Deadeye, I'll be very surprised if that happens in the next 10 years. The chip part, yeah, I believe that can be done fast. The lunar base part, even Elon said he would like to have the lunar railgun done before he croaks. Okay, that sounds like a 20-year time frame to me. The chip part is impossible. I actually think that's the easy part, Odin, compared to the lunar railgun. If you really want my honest opinion. Lunar railgun is pretty difficult, dude. Am I right? I disagree, which is insane. I mean, Terrafab is a little... let's agree to disagree, but we'll agree that Terrafab is a very ambitious project, right? This might be a dumb question, but what is NASA's goal for the astronauts at the moon other than building the base? Train to learn how to live on Mars. We actually talked about something like this in class a few days back. At some point, private companies, SpaceX and Blue Origin, would become so large that they'll no longer need government entities like NASA. Yeah, all the more reason that NASA should have their own rockets, or should procure rockets for operations. See last, please. Oh, God. Well, I agree that NASA needs deadlines. I feel like a lot of this what seems like rushing is being stemmed from ego. No. Yes and no, dude. No. NASA needs a challenge, dude. They need a challenge. They work better when they have a deadline. Because look at what happens when they don't. I wouldn't say that. I would say that a president challenging NASA to serve, to organize and measure the best of their skills is what NASA needs to be doing. And I'm saying that with no axe to grind, if you catch my drift. Like, that's not important to me, you know. You've been saying that for so long, correct? Why should SpaceX care about HLS when they have Starlink revenue? I'm not saying they would abandon it because, well, Max, the big reason is because they got paid $2.2 billion to do it. Yeah. Where'd that money go? If SpaceX pulls out of the HLS program, which I really don't think they will, I absolutely don't think they will, what are they going to do, pay NASA back? That's not happening. No axiom to grind. Yeah. Let's see. What else can we talk about through ignition here? Let's try to see the rest of these slides. Yeah, their phased procurement option here. I don't mind doing stuff like this. That's probably a good idea. Yeah, eventually the ISS has a shelf life. What NASA was trying to do up until this point was to have a commercial space station get built while attached to the ISS. But Axiom didn't do that because they suck. Not they suck, they got the spacesuit contract, but yeah, you kind of screwed the commercial low Earth orbit program because of that. But yeah, we'll see. I think that the ISS is entirely in this position because Axiom screwed the pooch on their modules, which just pisses me off, but it is what it is. Yeah, did I get through all of those? Did I get through everything? Yeah. The other thing that I'm going to say, guys, is that there is a tomorrow on Flame Trench. The entire Flame Trench is going to be about this. we're gonna have I was about to say arguments, but yeah, we're gonna have discussions, candid discussions about these different procurement options and stuff. Isn't that new core module supposed to start off attached to the ISS? Yes, correct, Bob. I would be very surprised if that actually happens, but whatever. Could VAST change their plans to dock with the ISS? It is possible. It really seems... another thing, one man. VAST very much seems... It very much seems like VAST was not taken into account when these phased procurement options or these options in general were thought up. They did not mention anything about VAST or anything. Like, I don't even think VAST has a commercial low Earth orbit destinations contract. How long is Flame Trench going to be tomorrow? I budgeted us 3 hours. I think that should be enough to get through everything, dude. Trying to watch your stream, but there's a tornado warning for you. Nevada, I appreciate you wanted to hear my voice, but please make sure you're safe. Tornadoes are... Careful. Are you doing an extended flame trench? 3 hours, guys. We budgeted 3 hours for this. I think that's more than enough time. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here is Intuitive Machines' new commercial lunar payload services lander. NASA selected Intuitive Machines to deliver 7 NASA-sponsored payloads to the moon's south pole. Three hours for Alex's first answer. Yep. NASA's frittered away billions of dollars on stupidity. Why should Joe Citizen trust NASA with their hard-earned tax dollars? Serious question. Lord Gugu, because space flight stuff is cool. And I know you're looking at me funny. And that sounds like a non-answer. If I'm going to be very candid here, you said NASA's frittered away billions of dollars on stupidity. How is that different than any other thing that your tax dollars goes to? At least spaceflight stuff is cool, man. That's all I'm saying. I think lunar exploration and Martian exploration is a worthwhile endeavor for our country. That is something we should be doing. We should be leading the charge for peaceful exploration. I think prioritizing that as a national priority, if I could give 100% of my tax dollars to that, I absolutely would. That in defense, but yeah, people don't want to hear that. Is that a sufficient answer for you, Lord Gugu? You have to sell this to your sister, a non-space person. Fair? Warning of a 3-hour tour. Yeah, dude, that's really it. It's defense scared of us Canadians, huh? No. I'm not. What are you gonna do? Throw maple syrup at us? You should be? Yeah, okay. Elbows out, bud. You'll be sorry you said that, bud. Throw the maple syrup and apologize. You know what, Nader? Something tells me that nowadays I don't think they would. I'm just screwed with you guys. Sorry. You guys are all right. Come on. You like this. Hey, Canada, how's the boy? What boy is that? The one you sleep with? I'm just kidding. You're good. You're a good sport. They'll throw their double doubles at you, bro. I'll splash Dunkin' coffee in their face. How about that? How do you think the IPO would change SpaceX? I would hope that it wouldn't, Max. Have you talked about Moonfall yet? Yes, Endoclone, we did. I did touch base on that, yeah. Yeah, Manfu. Yeah, I know. Why pay for it when somebody else is? I like the idea of you shaving every 2 months so we get full cycle. Okay. All right, Blark. I'm quite scared about the IPO. Too bubbly for my liking. Then again, I know nothing about the economy, Lava. Yeah, I don't know, man. The voice that you just did sounds like the nerdy scientist from The Simpsons. All right. Yeah. The Moonfall program, Hendo, I think is really cool. I think that's a great idea. Send out, NASA make some lunar hoppers to get out to the moon, hop around, and find a good landing site. That's a great idea, actually. How's it getting there? How's that getting there? Thoughts on SR1 Freedom? Let me move to that point in the move to that point in the slide here. The power slides, slide power. This thing. I think that's a great idea. Next slide, please. No, I think this is a good idea. This is really cool. NASA should be pioneering propulsion systems. This is great. This is a 100 kilowatt or 20 kilowatt. Yeah, not 100. 20 kilowatt. Rewind 10 seconds. It's a 20 kilowatt nuclear reactor utilizing a Brayton cycle to generate power in space, and they're hot wiring it to Gateway's power and propulsion element. Yep. They're going to repurpose Gateway's PPE, the core module of the Lunar Gateway, and they're going to strap a nuclear reactor to it to see what it does. This is great, dude. This is a great idea. I think this is entirely doable. I think this is a very, very good call. What capability does Falcon 9 have at the moon? It can move small stuff to the moon, Michael, but you're not moving people with a Falcon 9 to the moon. That's not happening. Yeah, this is an awesome idea. I think SR1 Freedom is great. So Jared Isaacman also announced that the SR1 Freedom is going to be used for Skyfall, the Mars Skyfall project, which this part I think is badass, dude. Here, let me see if they have let's see if there's a movie about it somewhere. Yeah, here you go. Watch. SR1 is going to deliver what it takes. No, not that. Here we go. That right there. It's going to deliver Ingenuity class drones. It's basically going to cluster bomb Mars with a bunch of those helicopters, which is actually super cool. Those Ingenuity drones the first Ingenuity drone flew with the Mars 2020 Perseverance mission. and was able to fly around and scout out locations for the rover to go and look. They're going to cluster bomb them with that thing, with those. And those are going to scout out locations for landing and habitation on Mars, which is badass. I think that is an amazing idea. Yeah, and it very much looks like Skyfall is using Curiosity and Perseverance's back shell and heat shield. So yeah, it already exists. These already are a thing that we've made a bunch of, right? So cool, make another one. I like the idea of that. Make more back shells, make more parachutes, make more Ingenuities. You built plenty of. You've already built one. You could build another one. It's no big deal. Littler probe droids. Yes, I'm a little confused. What exactly is nuclear propulsion? Nuclear electric propulsion is what this the SR1 Freedom is. It's nuclear electric. What? Give me 1 second. Did you see that now that the copter is done there using the Perseverance computer that controlled it to get its position locally? Very cool stuff. No, I didn't, can't see me, but that's actually super cool and a really good idea. If you can still ping the thing, that's a good call. A quick rule of thumb for electric thrusters is thrust divided by power times specific impulse is around 1,000. Whoa. So, fake Brit, how this thing works is you have a nuclear reactor up at the front. What do nuclear reactors do? They generate a lot of heat and they generate a ton of electricity. Okay? They're utilizing a Brayton cycle. Here. So, a Brayton cycle. Okay, big words time. Big words. A Brayton cycle, known as a Joule cycle, is a thermodynamic cycle that describes the operation of certain heat engines that have air or some other gas as their working fluid. It is characterized by isentropic compression and expansion and isobaric heat addition and rejection. Though practical engines have adiabatic rather than isentropic steps. The most current application is in air-breathing jet engines and gas turbines. So, what the hell does that mean in plain English? The nuclear reactor is going to heat up gas. Gas is going to when gas heats up, it expands. And if it can expand, it can pressurize. And if it's pressurizing something and you shoot that pressurized gas into a turbine, what's that going to do? That turbine's going to start spinning, right? Like a windmill in wind. That turbine spinning is going to generate electrical power. That's the gist of it. I mean, that's basically what a gas generator or a gas turbine does. That's what a turbojet does. How hard would it be to make more power and propulsion elements if this one is good? Well, that's the cool thing about SR1 Freedom. This is all using off-the-shelf components. Even the power and propulsion element, Mason, the PPE is just a satellite. It's a commercial satellite bus. I believe it's a Lockheed Martin 1200, I think. It's a geostationary satellite that's been hot-rodded. There is the xenon problem, yeah. SSL, Space Systems Loral 1300. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I knew it was somewhere in the 4 digits, and I forgot what company it was, Phil. Well, yeah, Maxer now. Yep. So they aren't doing Nervas. No. So this thing is going to generate electrical power. So Fake Brit, the other thing that's going to do is they need a way to cool the gases off. So they have a titanium heat rejection system. That's a nice way of saying a heat exchanger to get rid of the heat in that gas. And the gas will get circulated back into the reactor to keep it cool. It's just a closed loop pressurized system. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of electricity now, 20 kilowatts. Okay, so for instance here, just a little bit of a kind of comparison. A modern house, a modern single-family home uses about that much a day, maybe less. Depends. Let's just say my house uses that much a day because of all this stuff, all this electrical equipment, dude. Let's say my house uses that much. It's not a small amount of power, but it's not a big amount of power either. The reason why they're using that is because that's something that exists. Oops, Lanteris now. They've changed way too much in the last 5 years. Yeah, whatever. So, Fake Brit, what this thing does is you have a ton of electrical power, and you have these things. 48 kilowatt advanced electric propulsion. Up to 48 kilowatt. I hope this thing has batteries on it. I hope it has batteries on it. So, what are these things? What are these thrusters? Those are Hall effect thrusters. Hall effect thrusters are a type of engine where, picture kind of a rocket engine in your mind. You have a combustion chamber, but there's no combustion in there. You have a chamber and you flow inert gas through that chamber. In this case, they're utilizing xenon. They shoot xenon through it. Inside of that chamber, you have a positive and negative node, and you arc electricity at high voltage, low amperage through it. Basically, a spark plug, right? But a bigger spark plug, right? And a spark plug that's designed to constantly be going. That lightning bolt shooting through the gas causes ionization. The ionization releases energy. You release energy in the form of thrust. So basically, what this nuclear electric system does on SR-1 Freedom is take the electrical power from the nuclear reactor and basically zap xenon gas. Believe it or not, it's not that far off from what a fluorescent light does. A fluorescent light shoots electricity through gas inside of a pressurized compartment, and it makes light, right? Light has kinetic energy. Not a lot of people know that. Light has kinetic energy. It does. Light will give you thrust. It's not a lot of thrust, but it'll give you thrust if you can harness it correctly. This doesn't do exactly that, but it kind of does that. Hall effect thruster. And guys, this isn't some like crazy near future technology. Hall effect thrusters have existed on rocket engines on satellites for a really long time. There's a picture of one working. It's basically think about it like a fluorescent light bulb with one end open. Now, does that provide a lot of thrust? Not really, no. But Hall effect thrusters are scalable. They're scalable. You can make a bigger one. If the big limiting factor to a Hall effect thruster right now is the fact that we can't generate a lot of power in space. But if somebody came along and made a nuclear reactor and attached it to a Hall effect thruster, you could make something that accelerates. You could make something that accelerates for a very long period of time. If you've ever watched The Expanse, guys, you turn and burn, you could do that. That's called the brachistochrone trajectory, where you say you want to go from Earth to Mars, right? Hey, B0, 63-month resub. Thanks, man. So you want to go from Earth to Mars. You spend the first leg of the trip accelerating towards Mars, then you turn around halfway, and then you spend the rest of the time decelerating. That's a brachistochrone trajectory. If you know a little bit about derivative equations, brachistochrone trajectories should make your head hurt. Like a lot. A lot. Yeah, it's complicated, but it's a cool idea. SR1 Freedom could do that. It could do that. Yeah, it will do that. Because it's not that big of a vehicle. But yeah, you could. The reason why you'd want to utilize a Hall effect thruster is because the specific impulse on Hall effect thrusters is insane. But right now, the problem is that they just don't generate a lot of thrust. Me doing this right there, like just trying to whistle, right? It blanks the mic blanks it out. But me whistling generates more thrust than a Hall effect thruster nowadays. But like I said, you introduce more power into that thing, you can make them produce thrust. Even a Hall effect thruster nowadays that produced like 1 kilonewton of thrust would be enough to get you to Mars extremely fast. It would or extremely fast. Well, not extremely fast. I don't think it would ever be as fast as chemical, at least in the near future, right? But remember, on this brachistochrome trajectory, you do not need to. You don't need high thrust to weight. You just, thrust over time and efficiency is what makes it work. Hall effect thrusters are actually in the lower end efficiency in terms of electric propulsion. Yeah, but it's what SR1 Freedom is using, right? But yeah. Because a large part of the ionization happens outside of the chamber. Gridded ion thrusters are much better in that regard. Yeah, you have constant acceleration. You might not be able to get there as quickly as chemical, right? But it'll be a much more efficient trip. And it won't be that much longer. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. This would be the perfect opportunity to employ nuclear energy. Minus the earthbound fear. That's a good call, Rosebud. That's a really good point. Don't Starlink use those thrusters? Yes. Anonymous? Mm-hmm. Starlink satellites utilize the Hall effect thruster. Yeah, SpaceX's in-house thrusters are using Krypton, though. They're not using Xenon. If I know SpaceX, and I'd like to think that I know them pretty well, they probably switched to Krypton because it's cheaper. That's just a guess. Thrust is not a big issue. Sure, the math is a bit hard, but the prediction to make sure you're pointed in the right direction, i.e. 3-body, is what is the killer. Surely we are relatively accurate as we have good solar system models. I don't think that's an insurmountable problem, Zeppelin. It's just the math makes my brain hurt. And it should make your brain hurt too. Am I wrong? You want to keep Kal-El off your satellites. Well, yes, of course. Yeah, that's why it's Krypton. Yeah, of course. Got to make sure. You never know. What kind of scale would we be talking about to match chemical on a trip to Mars? So, Vert, let me put it to you like this. If we could make a Hall effect thruster have 100 kilonewtons of thrust, equivalent to an RL-10, for instance, which is one of the smallest liquid fuel engines around. If we could get a Hall effect thruster up there, or any type of nuclear electric propulsion thruster up there with 100 kilonewtons of thrust, dude, that's Star Wars. Or at the very least, The Expanse. Brother, that is, like, I'm talking about all this nonsense about trips to the moon. How are we going to get SLS to the moon? Dude, if you have something like that, trips to the moon, you don't need something like SLS. Just go to low Earth orbit and have the vehicle just shoot back and forth between the moon. That's like that would open the door to Star Trek. To Star Trek style stuff. I mean, no dilithium crystals, no warp drive, but still pretty good. This is essentially impulse power from Star Trek. That's what it is. It's cool. I am a little bit annoyed that we didn't go down the nuclear pathway, the nuclear tech tree in space, sooner. The screwed up part is that we did in the 60s, and we're going to do that with the Apollo program, but it got canceled. So that's, Oh yeah, the math problems are painful, but we do have good computers that can do the heavy lifting. I would hate to do it in your head. Yep. Mm-hmm. Brayton cycle is way too generalized of a term. All engines that use a fluid cycle. For something more familiar and specific, as far as I've kept up, they basically use a Stirling engine. It's been around for a while. Check this out. Yeah, I know what a Stirling engine is. NASA's real-world mathematics. Oh, neat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So in essence, the SR-1 mission is much more important than people realize. Dude, Vert, yeah, if we figure out a way, dude, if this works, if that Martian Skyfall mission works, yeah. That I would be rethinking. Oh. Dude. Bert, you just blew my freaking mind inadvertently. Dude. What I was just about... Oh, wait a minute. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right. EJ's got an idea. You guys tell me if it sounds stupid. All right. I know somebody's going to do it anyway. We can acknowledge that I'm an idiot and we can move on. Just listen to my damn idea. All right. Hold on. So what I was just about to say to you is that if something like this works, I would completely rethink about my architecture for exploring space. If something like this works. When did they say that this mission needs to fly? Well, NASA was Jared Isaacman is very, very committed to saying that this mission is going to launch in 2028. He was very committed to it. If something like that works, it's very important. We'd end up having something like Star Trek. If SR-1 Freedom works and deploys Skyfall as intended, like I said, I would rethink about everything about how I move things around in space. We would want to use that all the time, right? I said at the beginning of the space news that Artemis 6 is going to fly in 2029, and that's basically the last SLS mission, and they said they're going to rethink the architecture from there. Mother fricker, that's what they're going to do. Oh, that makes so much sense, dude. That makes so much sense. Ah, you cheeky son of a bitch. Okay. All right. I can get behind this. That's pretty cool. I can get behind it. I still think I would still fly SLS more, but I can get behind that. Yeah, dude. Because what did I just tell you? If something like SR-1 Freedom works and we can establish a lunar tug that's based off of SR-1 Freedom to move stuff to and from the moon, dude, you do not need a super heavy launch vehicle that can do 45 metric tons TLI. That makes no sense. Just have people send stuff into space and attach it to your nuclear transfer vehicle. Just go back and forth. You don't need a super heavy lift rocket. You just need a low Earth orbit access vehicle. What is aplenty in the commercial market? Low Earth orbit access vehicles. Falcon 9, New Glenn, Starship maybe in the future. All right. There's Relativity with Terranar. There's Stoke with their Nova rocket. There's Rocket Lab with Neutron. And these rockets are human rated. Falcon 9 has Dragon on board. And if you put Orion on Vulcan Centaur, right, shoot an Orion up there, couple the Orion to the freaking nuclear transfer. I'm not sure that mission would take that. I don't, we would have to drastically scale up nuclear power to do something like that. To get a thruster that's big enough to push Orion all the way out there. A transfer tug with a crew access compartment would probably be a better solution. This is a test article. It's starting small. Yeah. Guys, yeah, that's right. So, Lava Eagle, what are you saying? A 100 kilonewton Hall effect thruster would require about 2 gigawatts at 20 kilometers a second specific impulse. A gridded ion thruster would require 5 gigawatts at 50 kilometers a second. 50 kilometers a second specific impulse. Huh. 100 kilonewton Hall effect. 2 gigawatts, man? Dude, 2 gigawatt, a 2 gigawatt nuclear reactor is not that big of a deal. Guys, nuclear reactors, well, yes it is. That is a hard thing to do. I mean, most nuclear power plants nowadays, like nuclear power plant nowadays, I mean, there are 2 gigawatt nuclear reactors out there, but they're the size of an office building because it's a 2 gigawatt nuclear reactor. It's only 0.7 gigawatt more than 1.21, so Bistra fusion. Yeah, we need that, yeah. An aircraft carrier is 700 megawatts. Yeah, Blark. That's right. If you're utilizing a Brayton cycle, just cluster your reactors. Holy shit. This is doable, dude. Could you take 400 or 500 megawatts and bolt them together? Sure. Yeah, if you're using a Brayton cycle to cool it, yeah, absolutely. And then black body radiation radiators, yeah, you just make the radiators bigger. You'd need big freaking radiators, dude, like, to be very clear. But yeah, this is 4 SMRs can get you to 2 gigawatt. Yeah, you could cluster your reactors. Holy balls, this is doable. Why the frick didn't we think of this? This is a good idea. You can do this. That's totally doable. Dude, let me put it to you like this. Even a 100 kilowatt Hall effect thruster would need 2 gigawatts. A 50, so Lava Eagle, by that logic, a 50 kilonewton Hall effect thruster. And keep in mind, you could cluster your Hall effect thrusters too, right? You could just group them up, right? Just like a rocket, just like how Falcon 9 has 9 engines in the first stage instead of 1, right? If we could get 50 kilonewtons out of one of these damn transfer vehicles, dude, yeah, that's only a gigawatt. Even 25 kilonewtons, a 25 kilonewton Hall effect thruster, that'd be a 500 megawatt. 500 mega, dude, that is doable. That's really doable. Like, that's not like out of the realm of possibility. That's not like, no, we're never figuring that out. That is doable. You'd most likely wreck the grids, though. I'm not sure right now whether it's the input of jet power, because if that's the jet power, you're absolutely screwed. Yeah. What's the mass of that power plant plus cooling? I mean, Fox, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it would be high mass. Anything with nuclear is high mass because nuclear fuel is dense, like me. Right? It's dense, but this is like, I'm running the numbers in my mind. So, okay, Fox, think about it like this. Is it higher mass? Yes. Dude, even something with like 20 20 kilonewtons. I combined kilonewtons and kilowatts. With 20 kilonewtons of thrust, that is enough to shoot something utilizing O-berth. That's enough for maybe a week transfer out to the moon. Like, it'll take 7 days to get out there instead of 3 with chemical propulsion, right? But that kind of tug with the kind of specific impulse that we're talking about that you get from a Hall effect thruster, you could go to the moon and back multiple times. You never have to refuel it. It could go out there. You could come right back, go out there, come right back, go out there, come right back. And then eventually you're going to have to refill you're going to have to refill it with inert gas. New Delta V unit, kilonauts per Twitch stream. Yes. Nuclear scales mass-wise as power goes up. That's a good point. That's right. That's a good point. The question is, can they get this working before the SLS goes out of service? Ambitious goals, Badger. Yeah, because once again, If something like this works, I would rethink my entire lunar architecture. I'm not even kidding. I would rethink the whole thing. Drunar, what's up? Do you think they could rendezvous on a slingshot trajectory? Otherwise, SR-1 would have to break out of orbit. What do you mean? Anonymous, you're asking, before Jared became administrator, do you think NASA would explore nuclear like this? No, absolutely not. This would, no way. You wouldn't see this kind of crap under Bill Nelson. And this isn't crap, to be very clear. Have you actually dug into Ad Astra's Vasimir? It's ready for in-space testing. What are the specs on their Vasimir drive? I think we kiss of death their website, Aqualux. I'm not sure what that means, Fake Brit, but all right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know. Fake Brit. Yeah. You're right. I figured. Sorry. I had to regain context to conversation. Yes, absolutely. He seems like such a putz comparatively. Yeah, Rarest. It could be done. Yeah. Nuclear Hall effect. Yeah. No boil off. You don't have to worry about none of that. That's what Rarest, that kind of clicked in my head, dude. You don't need to worry about boil off. You don't need to worry about refueling nearly as much. I've suggested this. You shot me down for being unrealistic. Well, Jared wasn't the administrator then, you bitch. I mean, guy. I'm sorry. I just said it. This is a completely unrealistic idea if Jared is not there. Am I right? I say the B word is a term of endearment. Is 48 kilowatt enough to break out of the orbit cycle? I don't think they would propose this mission, Drew, if it wasn't. It's going to need to use Oberth. This is not going to... That thing right there, even with 3 of those things, is not going to make a lot of thrust. Lava Eagle, do we know how much... Or Philip Turtle, do we know how much thrust the Gateway's PPE thrusters make? 200 kilowatts, 6 Newton of thrust, 5 kilometers a second impulse using argon for the Vasimir. Okay, Phil, you're going to look? Yeah, what... Those are... I know those are off-the-shelf thrusters. What thrusters are they? If Air Force procurement has taught me anything, you want people to buy in, it needs to look cool. Odin, I 100% agree with you on that. I think that how... Like, if the Air Force is trying to get a new fighter jet, how it looks... absolutely plays into their judgment for picking one. Look at the F-35. Look at the F-35 versus the X-32, right? The X-32 was more capable, but they chose the F-35. The reason why they chose the F-35 is this. Apparently NASA, here's a 2012 PDF with its numbers. NASA is using a in-house design, apparently. Advanced electric propulsion system. Specific impulse. 2,900 second specific impulse. Theoretical total thrust. 2.356 newtons. Yeah, that's not a lot. Thrust at 40 kilowatts is 1.7 newtons. That's not a lot. That's not a lot of power. Yeah, if you were the Air Force and you were looking at that versus, well, here, just look at them side by side. That should tell you everything you need to know. Power and propulsive element plus the Halo module was supposed to take a yearish to get to rectilinear Halo orbit. Yeah, that's right, Vaquero. 'Yeah. Interesting. Hall effect thrusters are kind of crappy like that comparatively to others. Yeah. Yeah, dude, that makes more sense. If this thing works and it does what you want, I would rethink. Yeah, I'd rethink the entire architecture. I would have NASA launch these damn tugs and have NASA push these things back and forth, and then pay commercial customers to move equipment to this thing, and then send the equipment out to the moon base myself. Now, that still doesn't solve your human rated stuff. I don't think you're going to human rate this anytime soon, but the X-32 was supposed to look like this, but Boeing got their wing design wrong. Yeah, I remember this. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. You know what, Baron? I still think the F-35 looks better than this, but that's just my opinion. Ion engines could push people, but we need to prove it. It's not the ion engines that I'm wondering about, RJ. It's very much the propulsion. 1 Newton is nothing. That's RCS has more thrust than that. But that Vasimir thing, let me see. Interesting. You're looking for the highest efficiency numbers. Vasimir stands for Variable Specific Impulse Magnetoplasma Rocket. You can dial up the thrust at the expense of specific impulse. Better numbers are here. So at a megawatt, it's 5.1 newtons. Guys, you know, so here's the thing. I just said a second ago, looking at those numbers and reading this. If this thing works, I would, you could say that you want to rethink your entire architecture, but also at the same time, this needs to be scaled. This isn't moving anything but a bunch of helicopters to, like, little tiny helicopters to Mars. And it's going to take a long time for it to do that. I've been reading the Vasimir thing. It's got the power density of 6 megawatts per square meter compared to 0.2 megawatts per square meter for Hall and 0.04 megawatt for gridded. For the sake of your sanity, don't go down that rabbit hole. Trust me, I went down it. What? For Hall effect? It's a first step proof of concept. If it works, they'll go nuts. I think that's correct, Bob. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, if this proves promising and completes all of its test objectives, dude, once again, I had a guy who worked at a place that made the Hall effect thrusters, that makes Hall effect thrusters for satellites. He's actually from Massachusetts. I actually had the pleasure of meeting that dude one time. He told me that you could scale it up. You can make them bigger. You could. You just need to generate more power. Power is your problem. Scaling up the thruster is not that big of a deal, or using a Vasimir or whatever. It's always been power generation in space. We only have solar power. That's all we've used. Solar power or fuel cells, which is just honestly, that reads, yeah, we would be that stupid. But that time's changing, man. Hey, when I was just a wee lad in the 90s, okay, we were promised crazy stuff like this. Good, let's do it. All right. We were promised crazy stuff like this. I didn't think that we'd have to be the ones to go and freaking make it, but here we are. Take a shot in the dark at Jared about this. Yeah, I know, right? I think that Jared, look, Vert, here's the thing. If NASA wants to pivot into advanced propulsion systems that are nuclear powered, I'm cool with that. The reason why I'm cool with that is because NASA can get away with operating something nuclear powered more than a commercial company would. Because of all the regulations, it wouldn't be profitable for a company to do that, right? It makes sense for NASA to be operating these lunar tugs. Use that to build bigger transfer vehicles. Sure. Great idea. I mean, how funny is it going to be? Like, how funny could it be in the future where NASA's using, like, the Starship Enterprise to get to freaking Mars and SpaceX is still just plopping starships around with methane? That's a possibility. I think that's what Jared Isaacman is trying to facilitate here. 40 years of sci-fi movies, we have some expectations. That's right. Wouldn't this work well for within a system moving between the moons of Jupiter and Saturn? Yeah, sure. Or between the Earth and the moon. You still need chemical to go on and off planets. Yeah, no, you're right. Well, not on Mars, not landing, but yeah. Can you imagine starships just going up and down delivering payload to one of these things? Listen to Jared's tone. Significant design complete and hardware development started in June 2026. RFIs released for fast follow on FSP and NEP demonstrations. Systems ready for assembly and integration testing in January of 2028. 2 years is enough to design this. That's a long enough time. Yeah, that's actually, I would say that's pretty realistic to build something like this, considering most of it is off the shelf. That's actually not a bad idea. Why would earthly nuclear restrictions apply to unpopulated stations? The spacecraft that is beholden to the country of origin's laws that it launched from, Rosebud. That's why. What is the scale of SR1? So that's an SSL 1300 SAT bus. That's about the size of a school bus right there. Yeah, a school bus would be about this big. And then with this design, I'm assuming the radiators probably fold downwards and the solar panels probably fold inwards. And this is a telescopic lattice right here. So this will extend out. How are we going to get it into orbit? How are we assembling it? Like I said, this is a telescoping system. Between the telescoping system and the power and propulsion element, a Falcon Heavy could put this into space. Yeah. Falcon Heavy with its extended payload fairing could put this into space. New Glenn could shoot this into space easily. Like, easily. Yeah, here's a picture of the same SAT bus, but utilized for the Echo Star 19 mission. Yeah, the propulsion element, guys, is made up entirely, like, that's all off-the-shelf components. Yeah, no, it's not big. Yeah. And this thing already has Hall effect thrusters on them. You can see them down there. At least I think you can. Maybe not. It's inside of the payload attachment fitting. But you get the idea. All right, Vaquero, you want me to listen to this. What do you got for me? Let's,
The large structure you see will be the heat rejection system, which are high-performance, lightweight composite titanium and titanium radiators. And for the backbone of it all, NASA will repurpose the power and propulsion element to provide the spacecraft bus, the brains of the vehicle. Of note, it will provide high-rate direct-to-Earth communications so we can get that data and imagery back home, and up to 48 kilowatts of advanced electric propulsion. These are the thrusters that nuclear power is driving.
SR1 Freedom. So here, let's look at this. Vert, let's look at this timeline here. 2028 SR1 Freedom. Fly it and learn. First nuclear electric propulsion demo. Okay. Lunar Huh. What were we just talking about? I seem to have missed this slide when I looked at this before. This is why I wanted to talk with you guys about it. Because I could just sit here and look at this, but if we sit here and brainstorm and figure out the play, yeah, we really think about it. We really could get at this a lot faster. Lunar reactor, trade reopens. RFI, informed by SR1 data, leverages SR1 technology adapted for the lunar environment. Scale and production, proven technology, repeatable. Move to megawatt class for humans' missions to Mars in the 2030s. Aqualex, are you out there? You're out there in Twitch chat land? Because that 2030 slide... I will it's very rare that I'll say, yeah, you seem to be on the money with Gateway and what it was designed to do. I will very rarely give you credit because piss off, but also, yeah, that seems to be right. Green screen, please. Yeah, RFIs. Yeah. Well, SR1 will be a communications relay for Skyfall, so they'll have it loiter in orbit and not a cycler. They don't know what they're going to do with it in orbit after, but yeah. How do launch vehicles get nuclear rated? There's a set of criteria to basically make sure the vehicle's reliable enough to not have a nuclear payload blow up and splash down in the ocean. Just saying, a 1 megawatt heat dissipator will be around 400 square meters. Stolfar. So? What, do you think that's unbuildable? They could use the lander shell as a base station for Skyfall. Yeah. What happens? Okay, we could break that up, dude. You could break that up into smaller rejection elements in parallel with your cooling systems. How's it getting up into space? A rocket, good fella. It's a repurposed PPE. A Falcon Heavy with its extended fairing would be able to launch this, or New Glenn, or Starship might be able to as well. I forgot to say this yesterday, but this reminds me a lot of like Gmo, which is funny. Considering the crew exploration vehicle, Ryan killed it, but I hope a lot of lessons are learned from the design. Oh, the Jupiter Icy Moons Orbiter, yeah. Jupiter Icy Moons Orbiter was a proposed NASA spacecraft designed to explore the icy moons of Jupiter. The main target was Europa, where an ocean of liquid may harbor alien life. Ganymede and Callisto, which are now thought to also have liquid, salty oceans beneath their icy surfaces, were also targeted as interests. Due to a shift in priorities at NASA that favored crewed space missions, the project lost funding in 2005, effectively canceling it. Among other issues, the proposed nuclear technology was deemed too ambitious, as was the multiple launch and in-orbit assembly mission architecture. Somebody deemed that as too ambitious for multiple launch in-orbit assembly mission architecture in 2005. Somebody said that was too ambitious in 2005. And then NASA proceeded to build out the rest of the ISS in 2005 to 2011 with the space shuttle, which is multiple launch on orbit assembly. Look, all I'm saying is that if you could build a 400-ton space station with the space shuttle on orbit, you're gonna draw the line at a little crappy probe like this. Max, what are you saying with 2028 out of the equation for the HLS landing? What should Jared focus on next to please the president? Bro. No, that's not how this works at all. The president said land in 2028. That's what he's focused on. Two hour 49 minutes on the out of 3 hours on the ignition stream. Okay.
Updates in terms of new scientific instruments that can be incorporated to potentially close out the gaps with some of the more expensive or bespoke satellites that we have historically purchased to get after that data, again, whether it's Earth observations, space weather, and free up additional resources to pursue some of the missions like Dragonfly that if we don't pursue, maybe no one else will. And then getting underway under nuclear power in space. So I find this very exciting because I think this fits squarely into what NASA is meant to do. The near impossible, again, what no one else should be able to close a business case on. That's where NASA should put our efforts. Now, for sure, industry is doing an absolutely fantastic job. Launch, observation, communication, chemical propulsion. This is what we want industry to be doing. Competitive dynamics, improving the quality of the capability and bringing costs down. That's what we want. We should then shift our attention to what no one else is capable of doing. I think the rationale there that is we want to inevitably explore farther out into the solar system where solar loses its effectiveness. This is where you want nuclear power. If you're trying to build a base on the moon, you're going to probably want nuclear power there to manage operations and keep our rovers moving in the shaded area. Certainly, if you're going to send astronauts to Mars someday, you'd really like to make sure they come back and tell us about it. Having a nuclear reactor on the surface to help with in situ resource manufacturing that we ideally already proved out on the lunar surface is going to be pretty paramount. I also call attention to that when every one of these slides is meant to convey something like really exciting, transformative, but inherent with every one of them is also a challenge, a problem, things we got wrong, real dollars that were lost, years lost. So when a lot of people ask us, how are you going to be able to do all this within the resource you have available? And I continue to tell them, NASA does not necessarily have a top-line problem. We get a lot of resources. We may not always allocate them that efficiently. Steve talked about SR1. One of the first slides says we've spent $20 billion on dozens of failed nuclear power and propulsion initiatives. It's $20 billion that could have gone to other great science and discovery. You know, last year we spent $250 million keeping a canceled science program canceled. You know, there's examples across every one of our mission directorates where we probably could have repurposed our resources a little bit better in the direction of science and discovery. And we're challenging ourselves to do that across the board. And I have no doubt when we do find these things, we're going to be able to take on even more exciting challenges ahead. Now, back to SR1. We are making use of a lot of hardware that we already have while working alongside industry. I think this is extremely important. You don't want to pursue the 100% solution out of the gate, or you may very well wind up with another canceled program that.
Wait, can I hear that again? I need to hear that one more time. I just want to.
We're going to be able to take on even more exciting challenges ahead. Now, back to SR1. We are making use of a lot of hardware that we already have while working alongside industry. I think this is extremely important. You don't want to pursue the 100% solution out of the gate, or you may very well wind up with another canceled program that maybe ran out of money. Nautilus was originally built to be a diesel boat. I think Rickover referred to it as the 70% solution. What was the 70% solution that gave birth to the nuclear navy?
So, yeah, just in case anybody doesn't understand that, the Nautilus was the first nuclear-powered submarine. It was built in Groton, Connecticut. It's pretty cool. Actually, most nuclear submarines are built there anyway. But that's another story. So the Nautilus, that was basically the benchmark for what would become our nuclear submarine fleet in the United States, which is... Do we have any non-nuclear submarines at this point? I don't think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're all nuclear powered. The boomers and the attack subs, they're all nuclear powered. Yeah, every single one of them has a nuke in it. Holy crap, dude. When you think about that, that's actually kind of nuts. Dude, the Nautilus is a great example. That's a really good example. That Jared Isaacman just said that, dude, I don't mean to glaze the guy, but that's a really good call. That's right. The Bilal was the last one. Yeah, I think so, Wywalk. Yeah. When people think or at least when I think our Navy is nuclear powered, for whatever reason, my mind defaults to surface vessels. So all of our aircraft carriers are nuclear powered, but all the ships that support them are not. We don't have nuclear powered Arleigh Burkes or nuclear powered Tycons, right? And none of the USNS ships are nuclear powered. It's all oil fired, right? Or diesel, right? It's we got a couple of nuclear. No. We have a lot of submarines. There's a lot of them. There's 100 of them. And they're all nuclear powered. I don't know how many there are. I'd have to go look. There's a lot. And they're all nuclear powered. And that's a lot of nuclear subs that have been operating for a very long time. That's a good, dude, that is a really good point that he made. And it's all because of the Nautilus. That was a good call. At one point, we were building nuclear-powered cruisers. I know. Guess where it was made, Hellfish? The Long Beach. Nuclear-powered cruiser. Yeah, guess where that was made. Guess who made that? Guess. Take a guess. Fall River, baby. That was made in Massachusetts, that ship. Nuclear powered cruiser, one of the only nuclear powered cruisers that the US ever built was built here. China, get out. Get out. China. It's West Taiwan, okay?
Oh, this is space. I'm in space.
Why was that really loud? Okay. Hokey gifted 5 subs. Thank you. Is it on a Des Moines hull? Yes. Yes, it is, Fluffy. Yeah. Isn't that cool? He's built close to Groton at Quonset Point in Rhode Island. Yeah, man. I know. Look, that's not far away from me, dude. I live on Cape Cod. That's not, all this is not that far away. Like, it's, yeah, sorry. Shameless plug for Four River Shipyard. What the heck is wrong with that ship? It's a cube. Hokey, the cube thing is, okay, so first of all, does it look ridiculous? Yes. Second of all, does it have Mark 1 VLSs on it? Yes. Do they look ridiculous? Yes. This is, let me just say prototype Aegis. Yeah, prototype Aegis. Yeah, it was this is, they didn't really figure out how to do that right, but yeah, that's prototype Aegis. Yeah, you should have known that. I was gonna say, I thought you would understand, but yeah. So that is the reason for the cube in Enterprise. The CVN-65 had the cube as well, which is funny because it was built around the same time. Okay, so for a little bit of background, we're getting into naval history again here for a second. So the Navy's Aegis weapon system. It is an advanced phased array radar system, and I know that phased array radar is like, bruh, phased array. That's not like advanced. Well, no, not now. It was super advanced in the late 60s into the early 70s. Yeah, that was a big deal. And that's what that is. It's their phased array radar. Part of what would become the Aegis weapon system. Aegis is, yeah, the Navy use phased array radars everywhere because they're simpler, much easier. That's what Starlink terminals do. The Starlink is a phased array system. Yes. Mm-hmm. Starlink uses very high frequency phased array to be able to modulate the signal to communicate with the satellites as they go by. That also makes it so you don't need an antenna that follows it as it goes over the horizon. You can just angle the Starlink so the software will come up with Starlink governing software for the base station will come up with an ideal theta depending on where you're it'll come up with an ideal theta, Hokey, depending on your latitude and longitude, and it'll figure it out, and it'll optimize it and move to the ideal theta angle. Yeah, it averages it, which is, I mean, dude, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool piece of kit in itself, like, considering you could just buy that. You could just go to the store and buy that right now. I mean, I think that's pretty cool, like, all using by constructive and deconstructive interference. Yeah, that's pretty freaking cool. You could go buy that at the store. Oh, I'm sure in 2026, phased array radars are available in every corner drugstore. But in 1986, I'm afraid they're a little hard to come by. Right? Like, dude, you could just go to the store and buy like a modulated phased array antenna, like, and it just does things and it gets you internet. You could also use it to point at several satellites at a time. Exactly, Lava. That's what I mean about finding ideal theta. It'll average out the spot where it can maximize signal coverage for the way the satellites are moving overhead. It's super goddamn smart. Yeah, you could just go down to the store and buy that. I mean, you know, people say like, "Oh, I thought the future was going to be cool." That's pretty damn cool. All right? That's pretty freaking cool. I'm just saying, that's pretty neat. Like, I don't hate that. That's pretty cool. I mean, I don't really have any use for a Starlink right now, but also, that's pretty damn cool. Right? That's pretty neat. How neat is that? This is EJ channeling Rick yelling at Morty. No. It's Doc yelling at Marty, okay? Rick and Morty is based off of Doc and Marty, okay? It's based off of Back to the Future. It's just a little bit... Rick is just a little bit more screwed up than Doc Brown. I like Doc Brown. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. That's right. He's right. Listen to Doc Brown. He's cool. He invented time travel. He's pretty smart. What's Doc Brown's first name? Emmett. Doc? Emmett. Yep, Emmett Brown. Yep. and his family immigrated from Germany because they changed their name from von Braun to Brown. Did you know that the Long Beach was supposed to get a refit in the 90s? Look it up. The bridge for that is now in a field in New Jersey. Really? That's not vertical. Yeah, it's not a VLS. I called it a VLS. It's not a VLS. It's the things have to point up. They load the missile vertically into it, and then it turns and fires it. Yeah. This is weird. I watched Back to the Future 1 and 2 just last night, and you're the second to bring them up. Snibbles, I reference Back to the Future on a weekly basis, so don't worry about that. Yeah. It's subtle, but I throw them in there because I love those movies. Back to the Future Part 1 is, we just talked about how Project Hail Mary is in my top 20. I'd say that Back to the Future Part 1 is in my top 10 all time. That is one of the best movies ever made, period, full stop. I saw it, Hokey. No spoilers, anybody. Please, don't. I want people to go and watch this movie cold turkey. It's freaking amazing. It is one of the best movies I've ever watched. I'm not even kidding. Project Hail Mary is in my top 20 all time, I've watched a lot of movies, dude. Going to see tomorrow at noon. Yeah, guys, for the people that haven't seen it, I am being like way more tight-lipped about this than I usually am. I'm not saying nothing. I didn't say nothing. I didn't say Sorry. Trust me. Bucks, Bob, when you guys walk out of that theater, I want you to think about this, why I was tight-lipped about it. Think about it. It's like EJ was really serious about not saying nothing. You'll see. You'll see why. You'll see why. Trust me. I wouldn't steer you wrong. I am a huge movie freak. Like, I quote movies every 15 seconds on this damn stream. I love movies. I watch a lot of movies. Okay? Seeing it today, dude, DL, yeah. Remember this. I was being tight-lipped about spoilers for a very good reason. I want you guys to go in there and I want you to have your minds freaking blown because that movie will do that. It's awesome. I hadn't noticed, Erper? Yeah, okay, that's fair. Good car truck selection in Back to the Future too. Seeing it tomorrow. Yeah, you'll love it. If you like space even remotely, even if you're like space adjacent, you will love this flick. It's so good. I didn't do freaking nothing. Thank you, Ernok, for getting my obscure reference to I Think You Should Leave. High Power, what's up, man? 67-month resub. You probably get a huge message in caps once I get back. No, dude, if you guys want to shoot me a DM and be like, dude, that was awesome, or no, you're an idiot, go away. Your taste in movies is terrible. Like, yeah, do it, man. I'd love to talk to people about it. Like, especially, like, yeah, if you shoot me a DM, dude. Shoot me DMs on Discord. I don't care. I'll reply. Vert, you got to go, man. I look forward to the next Flame Trench. You're going to bring up SR1 there. Well, I am now, Vert. I am now. Does that help? Hallingar, off topic, but if you ever want to try Star Citizen, I have a starter ship ready for you. Cool. I have to wait until it's on Amazon. Gotcha. If only we spent as much on NASA as Star Citizen. Oh, spicy. Spicy. Give me your opinion. All right, what do we got? What do we got? What the frick? Is Project Hail Mary good for IMAX? I would say watch it in IMAX. You should watch it in IMAX over anything else. It is. I saw it in IMAX, dude. It's absolutely mind-boggling. It's the United States' version of the UR-700. I hate the UR-700, and guess what? I hate this too. This is awful. S, you're asking me what my opinion on Iranian space program? What's my opinion on Iran's space program? Nothing. Nothing. Yeah, that's my opinion. Yeah, we're like, what the heck is even that? Space Force chill. What the heck is even this? Space Force General, probably. We don't have IMAX. Do you know where I live, you heathens? Whose fault is that? Give me a break. It was 1954. Yeah, okay. They were trying to figure it out. Yeah, no, it's awful. It looks like something Buck Rogers would be flying around. It almost looks like the Tintin rocket. It's ridiculous. And also, JP4? JP4? Really? JP4, bro, just use kerosene. What's wrong with you? I mean, JP4 isn't that far off. But also, just use kerosene. God damn it. Dude, I jumped out of my seat with that one. Sorry. So repost from earlier. I'm not taking the truck. The mechanical lift pump has gone bad for the third time, so I am converting it to electric and a bunch of other mods. Plus, I can't work on my car in the parking lot, and diesel is like $5.30 a gallon. That's fair. Electric though? Have fun with that. Can I have your 7.3 when you are dead? You want to give it? You want to give me that? I'll take that. If you don't want it, you want to use your electric motor, I'll take that off your hands. Your opinion on a red space? Yeah, no, there's nothing there. No, Baron, notice how that picture that you linked, there's nothing there. So we were listening to Rook. That's right. Yeah.
And I think we're on a similar path right now. And along the way of just proving out those important capabilities in the first 48 hours after the mission launches, we are going to get to Mars and drop off a pretty inspiring scientific payload. Send back also a lot of other imagery and data.
No, electric fuel pump. Oh, good. All right. I was going to kick you in the face.
Science. The last thing I'll say.
Are you crazy? I was gonna say, man, if you're gonna convert it to electric, you can give me the 7.3. I'll take that off your hands.
This to happen on its own. The whole point of today was not to come and give you a bunch of great PowerPoint and then just sit and wait for it all to come to fruition. This is about action right now. It's why we're dropping RFIs. We want to hear back from people. Not weeks from now. We want to get moving. This is why we're having breakout sessions tomorrow. We're going to be available to have these conversations. Why we repeatedly refer to embedding our workforce, our subject matter experts with every one of our vendors that needs it, every one of the subcontractors, again, every component on the critical path in an active role to help. And we know we are part of the problem in a lot of these cases. Like, we've got a lot of dated policy, things that maybe, again, made sense long ago, not always today. So let them take an active role and say, this is the right approach. Industry is telling us the way to achieve our objective. Let's let them do this. Or, hey, the supply chain's broken here. We got to build this valve. I don't know.
Guys, Jared Isaacman just said there that he's not there. You know, we're not going to come at you with a bunch of PowerPoints and then be like, yeah, and then wait, even though that's basically what they're doing. Did I know he's probably going to be more proactive than this, but also, like, there was a lot of slides here. Yeah, he's sending out the RFIs and stuff, Troy. That's the difference. I understand. I'm sorry. I was just trying to crack a crappy joke.
What to tell you, but we're not getting back to the moon if we don't do it. Great. That's why we're going to embed our workforce to do it, to drive outcomes. So, lot to cover right now. I'm sure there are a lot of questions. I appreciate everybody sitting through all of our presentations today, hearing from us. We can't do this without you, from the workforce to our partners in industry, and especially our international partners. We don't ever do this alone. We do it together. We're going to change the world together. So thank you.
RFIs are requests for information. Yes. So, yeah, Tozer, I'm pretty sure they're going to throw out all these RFIs to understand, you know, it makes a lot of sense now that I'm thinking about it, especially since I talked with you guys about it. But because at the start of this stream, I was like, wait a minute. You're going to put out all these RFIs and no one's going to respond to them. It's like some people won't respond to this stuff because there's no market for it. I think that's the idea, listening to this over again, now considering what we've considered. The short story is that Jared Isaacman is way smarter than that. Or at least the people denoting the spaceflight policy. I'm pretty sure it's coming from him. He's smarter than that. He's not an idiot. He knows that if they put out RFIs on certain things that no one's going to respond. Did you hear what he just said there? He said they're going to be proactive. And the stuff that he's doing that to feel out where the commercial industry stands in terms of investment into NASA, right? So say they put out an RFI for a solar panel, right? A solar panel that they need to deploy on the moon, and no one responds. Well, that's his tip to bring that in-house. You know what? That's not the stupidest idea around. Really, it's not. That's smart. That's a smart move. Yeah, Bree, you're right. You're right, but I didn't listen to you because I had to sit here and prove it out for myself, which is what you tell me when I tell you something and I was right. So deal with it. Doesn't feel good, doesn't?
Go and throttle up.
Go lift weights. You don't care about, it'd gaff about space. NASA's supposed to be high tech, yet during the presentation, they had to keep saying next slide to show us the next image instead of being able to change it themselves. The irony is unfounded, Space. That's funny. EJ sure wants to sleep in the garage, huh? Well, that's okay. I got a heater in here. I got a heater and a couch, man. We're good. Cannot tell you how many times Bree has asked me a question and I've answered it and she's like, nah, I don't believe you. And then she goes and Googles it. Freaking right. How many times does that happen, sweetheart? I'm just kidding. We love each other. Like, I'm not even kidding. This is just they're just playing it up because it's funny, but also. Trust but verify is a valid worldview. Bro, I am a walking encyclopedia. Why don't you trust this? Hey, why don't you trust this? He was the best guy around. What murder? Okay, yeah, that is what she said. This is weird, dude. This conversation's getting very meta, dude. You're right. She did, sir. This conversation, now this is screwing with me. He's right, you know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, so, yeah, Bree, that's the play. I understand it. It's, yeah. They're RFI freaking everything. See what people want to do. See what people reply to. What they don't reply to, good. That's the stuff you're making. Makes sense. Fill in the gaps. That's right. Remember what you told me last night. Oh, weird. This isn't that. Fluffy, I can honestly say this, and I'll say this on the internet, dude. I have raised my voice at my wife twice, and both of those times I was wrong. We've been together since 2017. We've been married since 2023. I've raised my voice at my wife twice, and I was wrong both times. So, brother, where do you think I got the advice? I got the advice from my own trust but verify. Iterative, we'll call it iterative relationship development. Somebody gifted Gork a sub. Gork, is that true? And guess what? I've never done it again, and I never will. I can say that with confidence on stream. You don't do that. Don't yell at your significant other. You're a team. You know? You don't. No, all systems, you say like, oh, Brimo's never wrong. Brimo's never wrong. No. This isn't like, like typical relationship stuff where you're like, I'm right. No, I'm right. No, I was actually wrong. That was the wrong thing to do. Like, I have no problem admitting that. It was voice activated slides. Yeah. Anyway, guys, I think we didn't do so much of the science mission directorate stuff, guys, but yeah, I think that, now that I sat here and discussed this with everybody and partially considered my wife's advice and then verified it with people on the internet.
Discovery, go at throttle.
The measurements for the board where it's had off. Oh, all right. Can you measure how long my finger is? Oh, wait, I got something in my eye. Anyway, hey, Admana, what's up, dude? Nutter the X11 Atlas. Tell your dog he's a good boy for you. Will do. I hate it when it does that. So all systems from Canada. I was maintaining diplomatic relations. I was giving him the bird, the finger. Sorry, it just does that sometimes. Because we were inverted. No, honestly, after considering all this, I feel a little bit better about this plan. I was not, from what I was looking at when I was watching this after the stream the other day, I was like, there's a lot of holes in this argument. But no, the more you think about it, the whole point is that, like, okay, so with the lunar architecture, they got a plan about how and when they want to deploy this stuff, right? And that's totally fair. Phase 1 is just deploying stuff that was already going to the moon. Phase 2, which should start in 2029, is basically when they'll have everything else ready. Right now, they're putting out requests for information about the entire thing, and they're fishing. He's fishing to see where the industry stands in terms of an industrial base. That's really smart. That's a really good way to get a good fundamental understanding of where the commercial market stands. So, 2028 rolls around, right? Like say Rook is gone, right? And that's his last year. He basically leaves NASA with a very solid and well thought out roadmap that leverages the commercial industrial aerospace industry. That's really smart, dude. I dig it. That guy's pretty damn smart. He's not an idiot. Yeah, I actually really friggin' appreciate it. That's a really good call. Yes, I know what the finger is, Goose. Yeah. Yeah, that's smart, man. Please call out Webby for swearing up and down Rook, saying he'll never be able to get anything done. Oh, hey, Ryan's good people, man. He's just very strong in his opinions. But Ryan's a good buddy of mine. I like him a lot. He's a good dude. I've been trying to get him to be a little bit more optimistic about things, but hey, he's an AMP, dude. Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want, brother? He's freaking AMP. You could ask them to turn one bolt, one rotation, and be like, nah, it's gonna take an hour and it's gonna cost you $1,000. I love AMPs. You're out there. I'm not wrong, but also, yeah, I'm just messing. Yeah, that checks out. See, they won't admit it, but they know. Airplanes teach us how the world really works and how a lot of things tend to not work right. Yeah, true that. Only? Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's, hey, I like Ryan, dude. Okay, you want it? You want to get Ryan going on an optimistic tangent? Ask him about dilithium crystals. You think I'm kidding? Ask him about dilithium crystals. He won't shut up. And you know what, man? I'd listen to all of it. Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, Zephyr and Cochrane. Yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that. Ask him about dilithium crystals or Shaw Fujikawa translite engines or hyperspace drives. I'm serious. He knows all of it, dude. And guy's a sci-fi nutter, man. The top shelf sci-fi nerd, dude. Rightly so. History will not look kindly upon Bill Nelson. Deadeye, do you have the meeting tonight? Yeah, we're going to wind down. It's in a little bit. He's a Trekkie, dude. Absolutely, Ernok. Bro, you want to get him going, dude. Yeah, start talking about sci-fi. Guy won't stop talking. And you know what, man? I'm cool with it. As somebody that, when you get me going about something that I like talking about, I'm not going to shut the hell up. Like, I appreciate it. I like making other people do that for a change. You know what I mean? You see, they just transported friggin' antimatter on a box truck. Wait, what? Is that a reference? I missed it if it is, Fluffy. Anyway, Bill Nelson was responsible for SLS2. Spoiled. I honestly, okay, all right. Enough talking about Ryan. But yeah, you want him to get going? He just mentioned sci-fi. Like I said, he's a good dude. I like him a lot. He's a good friend. Jared Isaacman has shown me that basically for the last 50 years, NASA has been run by people who who let the impossible kind of box them into a type of space flight that is incrementally sustainable over long periods of time, but doesn't really push the boundaries. Example, we had the space shuttle. We had the space shuttle for 30 years. Okay? We had it for 30 years. That thing arguably could have been the ultimate end-all, be-all, best launch vehicle we've ever made by a long shot. You could use it to explore the moon. You could use it to build stuff up in space. You could use it to do whatever. And that was squandered because we decided to be safe instead of being reliable. Instead of pushing the boundaries, right? And honestly, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Some of that behavior still happens today. You could see it with Starliner, right? Or Dream Chaser. This era of safe bets in space needs to stop, because if you try to make a safe bet in space, you're going to get somebody killed, or hurt. I mean, you're going to get something like Starliner. I mean, thank God Barry and Sonny are still alive. Because freaking Capsule wasn't freaking home, right? I think what I'm really learning with Jared Isaacman is that, dude, it's like what we were saying about Doc Brown. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish whatever. We got to want to do this. We have to want to do this. We can't be like, SLS will launch one time a year, and Gateway will be partially habitated for 3 months out of the year, and that might get us a lunar landing in the late 2020. No, that crap, that's not going to work. That stuff's not going to work. You know why? It's never worked. If we kick the door in, the rest should fall like a house of cards. Checkmate. That's the honest to God truth. Jared is showing me that it's really it's a mentality thing, and it's been a mentality thing at NASA for a long time. NASA has basically been forced to be spoon-fed the status quo by politicians and by cynics. And you know what? Screw those people. Yeah, screw them. Screw them right in the ear. No, it doesn't need to be this way. Now, if the way that Jared is going about doing things here is, you know, it's cavalier, like the Apollo program. The Apollo program carried more risk than anything the space shuttle ever did, but also bigger risk, bigger reward, baby. I don't think that doesn't mean we should just go shooting from the hip when it comes to space flight, right? But also at the same time, you should be doing challenging things. I agree with him. He's 100% correct. Will you be discussing the door with the do not enter asbestos and snakes? I can't believe that, dude. I can't believe there are still NASA government facilities that have asbestos. It's just, okay. Jared genuinely wants to improve NASA, and you could see it. He donates his salary, and he's actually making changes. Yeah, exactly, Anonymous. He cares. He cares. He cares, and he's not an idiot. You know what, man? That might seem like that's asking for, you know, that's not asking a lot. But apparently, for the last 50 years at NASA, that's like a godsend. Because, yeah, like I said, what the hell has every past administrator been doing? Even Jim. Like, I would say Jim is up there pretty. Jim Bridenstine's up there with he's a pretty damn good NASA administrator. Even Jared's clowning on him too. Brother, you had 3 years. How come what were you doing? You know? Are you actually surprised what's cheaper, cleaning it up or locking the door? No, I'm not. Jim actually did get the ball moving, spoiled. To his credit, he did. But even compared to like Jared Isaacman, like Jim looks like a snail and Jared looks like a marathon runner in comparison. Like, and Jim was good. That's what I'm saying. That's how low the freaking bar is, dude. He's no Sean Duffy. Don't do that again. Just needed someone to come along and hit the fix everything button. S-Master, it very much seems like with a lot of things nowadays that we overthink it. And you know what, dude? When I first started playing, like wanting to build launch pads and stuff in KSP, I was overthinking it a lot. Right? I would sit there and I would develop every single thing in a waterfall style architecture. It took forever. It took forever. You know, 2019 EJ, how long would it have taken me to build a shuttle pad? I've done 5 episodes of building the shuttle pad and had a successful launch using mission mode rules. 5. Just saying. You know, I think we overthink things, and I can see the stark contrast. You know what the crazy part is? We overthink things because we don't know how to do them. That's where you get textbook overthinking, because I wanted to make a shuttle pad and I had no idea how to do it. Nowadays, I know how to do it. Nowadays, I'm much more well-versed in, you know, picking up something that's 20 tons and moving it over there. I know a lot more about cranes. Not sure if that helps, but, you know, I think we get into analysis paralysis because we don't know how to do things. And because, you know, frankly, I mean, I don't know how it was for you. You're a little ways younger than me. But, dude, when I was in school, we were taught to analyze everything. Everything. You know, leave no mental stone unturned. Right? And that's not necessarily how the real world works. That's not how you get things done. That's not how you hit the fix everything button. You know what I mean? Would have taken 6 months with 2019 EJ. That's what I'm saying, Shortline. If Jared fails and he gets fired, he'll have more time to fly MiGs and buy flights into space. Yeah, you're damn right, Vaquero. Yeah. Right? I'm glad you had great teachers. I had some pretty damn good teachers, but that doesn't change the fact that we were, you know, I'd say kids my age. I'm 37, but you know, millennials, we were, that's how we were taught. We were taught to analyze everything. And then, you know, we get into, you know, you get put out into the real world and now we're like, what the hell do we do? This is so damn stressful because we don't know how to do this stuff. I mean, like, thankfully, like I taught myself how to. Sometimes you just got to go and send it. Sometimes you put your foot to the floor and do a freaking burnout in your garage, you know, like what we did that one time. That was fun, right? I'm 37. Well, I'm hardly old. You know, like, we overthink things, and it shows. It shows. And that overcomplication is killing us, you know. And like I said, I think that's extraordinarily evident over NASA's, like, from previous NASA administrators' tenure. Like, how much are we overthinking on top of overthinking on top of committees for a committee for a committee? Like the Mars sample return mission, great example. The current Mars sample return mission, and if I know Rook, he's getting rid of it, as he should, I would do the same thing. It's not Mars sample return. It's a committee for figuring out the feasibility of doing Mars sample return. They didn't change the name because they were worried that if somebody went snooping around and tried to cancel the program, right? Even though that's the right move, that say you're canceling Mars sample return, you must hate science. They didn't change the name because to make it more politically sustainable and politically convenient. That behavior needs to stop immediately, and I'm really happy that Jared Isaacman is getting rid of that. That's bullcrap. Yeah, Deadeye, exactly. It seemed like an okay idea at the time, right? But yeah, you're right, dude. You said it. History ain't gonna be kind to that. What an idiot. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't mean to be mean, but brother, do you understand anything? Do you understand how any of this works? Didn't he fly into space? Like, what the hell's the matter with you? This is not how stuff gets done. Yeah, home planet, maybe. Would it be faster or easier to test Mars sample on Mars? Well, that kind of was well, I don't know, maybe. They kind of wanted to do that, but then they kind of didn't. They didn't come up with any integrated architecture. They just say, we'll overthink every step as we go. Just like how that's why I brought up 2019 EJ building launch pads. I had no plan. I was just like, I'll try to build this and I'll try to make it look like real life and we'll try to get it to work and that should be good content. No, that's not what people want to see. People don't want to see me sitting there working on a pad for 6 months. Now working on a pad for a week and a half and getting it built and having it work and then focus the majority on the time of using the pad instead of designing it. I'm pretty sure that's what people want. Am I wrong? Pretty sure that's what people want. And that's what you need to do to do space flight. You just got to break off little bits and pieces and make it simple as possible and jet right through the damn thing. Yeah, we launched the pad too, just to be absolutely sure. Sometimes you got to send it. That was a great example of that, right? Like, that's how NASA needs to be working, dude. Kujaman, step 1, catch Mars sample. Step 2, I don't know. Step 3, profit. It seems like that is a lot of NASA's long-term business goals when it comes to, like spurring the commercial market and stuff. It's like, 1, build ISS. Hopefully we get good commercial market. 2, 3, profit. That's your business plan. Yes. All right, build the ISS. It'll foster a commercial market. Did you guys hear what they said? What Dana Weigel said? Dana Weigel basically admitted that, and this is not her fault. This stuff has been at NASA, been a thing at NASA for like 20 years, well before she was ever there. That NASA made business market projections about the ISS being profitable based off of how they felt about things. The market projections for ISS commercial profitability and feasibility was made up. Somebody literally did the joke that you just made 20 years ago at NASA, Gujuman, and justified that as for commercial applications for the ISS. That's what I mean, dude. How long has this been a thing? How long has this overthinking been a thing at NASA? My guess would be since Challenger. I know spaceflight history. Probably since 1986. And where has that gotten us? Rook's right. He's right, man. He's right. I feel so bad for Dana having to be the one to stand up and say that. Yeah, Tim, she didn't deserve that. Dana's cool. She's a freaking fantastic program manager. Like, top shelf, dude. It sucks that she's the one that had to be the bearer of bad news. I like her a lot, dude. Guys, Dana Weigel manages ISS logistics. She runs the ISS program. So she's the one that's making sure that Dragon is ready to launch here with these supplies for the ISS, for these astronauts, for this mission. You know, Dragon, Cargo Dragon, Cygnus. You know, she coordinates supplies with the Russians, with Progress and Soyuz. Like, dude, she does a freaking hell of a job. You know, I know she does a hell of a good job because you never hear about any astronaut missing pants on the ISS. You never hear about nothing. You never hear about nothing like that. You know, if something like the toilet doesn't work, right, and they need a replacement part, guess what? That thing's coming up on the next flight, and it's because of her. She does a good job. She does a damn friggin' good job. Can you imagine how hard that job actually is? Managing ISS logistics. You manage logistics for a 400-ton, multi-billion-dollar space station. She does a damn good job. A real job with real responsibility. Yeah, and that's why stuff gets done. So she does catering. Yeah, no. I have a question. Why has NASA allowed that to keep happening? I would say lack of accountability. Hydrogen is the real big thing. Lack of accountability and no real concrete mission goals since going to the moon before this decade is out. Seriously, hydrogen, if you walk down the street and ask, let's say my parents, all right, or no, let's not say my parents. My parents know about the space program. Asking somebody that's not too well versed in the space program, right? You know, if you went and just asked a random person, let's say they had even a slightest inkling that the space program existed, right? And you went and you asked them, what does the Apollo moon rocket do? Right? They're going to say, oh, isn't that the thing that people went to the moon with? If you ask that same question to somebody about the space shuttle, what are they going to say? If maybe they have a little bit more knowledge. Maybe they know the space shuttle. Oh, that goes to the space station. The space station was only there for half of the space shuttle program's tenure. See what I mean? Dude, that means like for the first like 15 years of the program. I mean, granted it was Space Station Freedom and we canceled it, et cetera, et cetera. I get it. But also, like, the point is that there's no defined goal. And you can surmise that there was no defined goal or direction when you ask somebody what the Saturn V did versus what the space shuttle did. The average normie on the street will know that the Saturn V was used for the Apollo program. Everyone knows this, even if you have you're like space flight adjacent. Everyone knows that. Nobody knows what the shuttle does, right? Yeah, exactly, Bovine. Yeah. Oh, isn't that the thing that exploded? Oh, I remember Challenger. I remember when it blew up. Great legacy. Right? That's what I mean. NASA's had no goal. There's no sustainable expedient goal. They haven't had a goal since 1972. A tenable flagship mission goal. That's unacceptable. And I'm only really starting to realize that. I wouldn't have told you this 5 years ago. Jared Isaacman is making it abundantly clear that they've had their head up their ass for the last 50 years. Now, I wouldn't have said this 5 years ago. Because, you know, you look at the last 50 years, right, versus the Apollo era, and, you know, without Jared Isaacman being there, you don't have the perspective, right? So you look at it and you say, oh, well, it must be really hard to get anything done at NASA because, you know, no president's going to make a goal because Congress isn't going to get behind it, or, you know, the president doesn't want to do this, right? Like, you kind of default to, oh, it must be difficult to get stuff done. But it's not. It's not difficult to get stuff done. Jared Isaacman is a good example of this. It's not difficult to get stuff done. He's getting stuff done, no problem. In this sea of apparent bureaucracy that's going to bog us down at all times, he's getting stuff done. That's really weird. See, that's what I mean about the perspective. I wouldn't have said this 5 years ago, or even last year at this time. I wouldn't have said that. I would have said, like, well, okay, the NASA administrative jobs, it's a really hard job. It's probably difficult to get stuff done, you know, especially if your boss doesn't really care about space flight, right? You know, the president at the time, there's no national goal. But also at the same time, do you think that the president came up with that goal for getting people back to the moon by 2028? No, hell no. He didn't come up with that. I'll bet you Jared Isaacman told him to do it. Right? Regardless of what you think about the president, I know people, every time I mention the president, people use that as an excuse to let me know if they like him or not. I don't care. But do you think he came up with that on his own? I don't think so. I think Jared Isaacman told him about that, or at least an advisor or somebody told him to do that. Like, and that's what the president should be doing. They should be delegating the people that know, right? Right? That's what I mean. Like, it's all because Jared Isaacman wants to do this and he wants to fix NASA. It's crazy to me that all it took is somebody that really knows how to get stuff done and was willing to put foot to ass, right? And actually wants to be there. I can't help but ask myself to NASA, like every other NASA administrator, maybe except for Jim, like, what the hell have you been doing for the past 50 years? What are you doing? I'll repost it because it should be reiterated. After Challenger, they used the shuttle. Yeah, the shuttle's a semi-truck, and they went camping in it. They used it like a damn tour bus. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how long has this crap been happening at NASA? It's freaking ridiculous, dude. Yeah, Vaquero. Yeah, bureaucratic process is to make work. Private enterprise success is to make product. Yeah, exactly. In any organizations, all problems are failure of leadership problems. And that's the kind of stuff that yeah, I mean, that's Jocko. I like Jocko, right? You know, yeah, I was thinking about Jocko now. I forgot what I was going to say. It's only become pretty apparent now how freaking absolutely useless every prior NASA administrator was. I would say there are a couple of shining examples. I would say Dan Golden, Jim Bridenstine, Mike Griffin. Everybody else, what the frick have you been doing? Like, what have you been doing? Like, Dan Golden tried to get stuff done. He was the NASA administrator in the early 90s at the end of the Cold War. Then there was Mike Griffin, who tried to make Constellation happen, right? That got axed because of partisan nonsense. And then Jim trying to just get SLS moving. Like, I really wouldn't speak highly to any other NASA administrator. What did Jim do beyond good vibes? He optimized the processing flow for a horizontal integration for SLS, and that's what got Artemis 1 to launch on any useful schedule. If Jim hadn't made the decision to do the core stage mating horizontally, Yeah, the Artemis 1 core would not have been finished, and Artemis 1 probably would have launched in 2024. Yeah. I disagree about Griffin. He was a putz. Yeah, Manny, you could say whatever you want, but Mike Griffin got the Constellation program on track, and he got the shuttle operating on a reliable schedule. And he finished the space station on time for when they originally said they were going to plan on finishing the space station as a response to the vision for space exploration. He might be a dick in real life, but honestly, that's how you run NASA. Do you think that like dude, not a lot of people could do that. Not a lot of people could do that job. Like, if you want to argue that he's a jerk, yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to make that argument, but dude, brother, he got Constellation. Dude, I mean, okay, so think about this, dude. Like, once again, you don't have to like the guy, right? I'm not saying you got to be his best friend. Ares 1X was a drawing. Or Ares 1 was a drawing, was a render, was a 3D graphic in 2005. Now, he got Ares 1X to launch in 2009, okay? Ares 1X, not really a high fidelity version of Ares, but the Ares 1Y mission would have happened in 2012. Okay? So that's a full fidelity flight version, right? Would have happened in 2012. The engines were on track. They had produced the first 3 J2Xs were produced, right? What Hose did is because, well, the recession kind of killed that. But that's another story. Dude, that's from basically a figment of your imagination in 2005 to a clean-sheeted, well, shuttle-derived, mostly clean-sheeted rocket with a brand-new crew capsule by 2012. That's 6 years. That's lightning speed for mid-2000s NASA. That's pretty good, dude. Pretty good.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hey, Space Pope, what's up, man? Where have you been? Hopefully everything's going good. Haven't seen you in a little while. I was wondering what happened. But yeah, like I said, you know, you don't have to like Mike, but he was a pretty good administrator. He's pretty damn good. The J2X dev blog breaks your heart in retrospect. So much work just thrown down the tubes.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Should have pushed. We shouldn't have canceled Ares 1. Shouldn't have canceled Ares 1. We should have kept flying it. Even just the rocket. Just, it's a very safe design. And I know people are going to look at me crazy because, well, EJ, what about the SRB? Yeah, okay. There was some stuff that needed to figure out, but they would have figured it out, dude. Hey, Ivo. 37-month resub. Not really anything good, Space Pope? I'm sorry to hear that, man. I hope things get better, dude. Space Pope, here. You want to make your day better? Have you seen Project Hail Mary? Dude, if you got a movie theater near you, preferably in IMAX, go see it if you haven't, man. It'll make you happy. It's an excellent space movie. You'll love it, dude. Trust me. Go watch it. But either way, I hope everything's going good, man. Dude, I had a terrible Monday this week. I was not doing well. But yeah, I hope everything gets better, dude. I'm here. Isn't that nice? Chat, what is CRP, Community Resource Pack? I'm not sure, Aurora. Anybody know? Space Pope. Thank you. Job is at risk. Oh, man, I'm sorry. That sucks, dude. I'm sorry. Yeah, dude, you don't want to hear that kind of crap. Here, check this out, dude. Jared Isaacman is looking at deploying a nuclear tug in 2028 to deploy Ingenuity helicopters to scout out landing locations for a human Martian settlement in 2028, dude. Nuclear powered tug, dude. And guess what? So, dude, he axed Gateway. I don't know if you saw the news. On Tuesday. He axed Gateway, and they're going to use the PPE and convert it into a nuclear tug. How cool is that, man? Now, this is a NASA mission, right, Nervous? Dude, this is badass. I like this. This is a great mission. I'm super psyched about this. Gateway, the computer? Oh, yeah. No, Gateway was NASA's old lunar space station concept. It ain't no concept no more. It's in the dustbin of history, which is where it belongs. Are those nuclear-powered ion engines? They absolutely are, Savage Duck. They absolutely are. How cool is that, man? The Spaceboat, look, you got Dan over there in Twitch chat coming over from YouTube chat just to give you good wishes, man. We're all pulling for you. Hey, Spaceboat, quick side note. Just quick side note. Hey, I don't know what you do, to be honest with you. If you're comfortable telling me, I know a lot of people, dude. If it's an industry that I'm even remotely adjacent to, I probably know somebody there. So, like, if you want to hedge your bets a little bit, just let me know. I don't know what you do, but I'm sure we could find someone that does what you do here. Like, there's a very wide assortment of labor here, just in case, right? Oh, heck yes, Ingenuity class helicopter is something I've wanted for a long time. Dude, yeah, the SR-1 Freedom Admana is going to carpet bomb Mars using, with Ingenuity helicopters, and they're just going to fly around and scout around for landing sites, which is, that's sick. I love it. Please do that. Please do that. Taylor, you know a lot of people as well. Absolutely, dude. Yeah, like I said, Taylor, I know a lot of different people in a lot of different fields. Like, and that goes for anybody that if I know you, right? Like, if you guys have trouble finding something, I know somebody. Chances are I know somebody, like in aerospace or anything, bro. I know a lot of people. Thank you. You'll DM me. All right, cool, man. We'll figure something out, dude. Like, I'm not, you don't want to, it hasn't happened yet, right? But you never know. You never know, dude. But, you've been so good to us, dude. It's the least I can do. I say us and, be good to us over at NSF and, you've been good to me here on the stream, dude. It's the least I can do to reciprocate. I drink beer at the same bar that the Astranis people hang out at. There you go, Admana. There you go. Does it fold? So Orbit with SR-1 Freedom, the heat rejection, so that the titanium radiators do fold up, right? They fold up right here. And then the nuclear reactor and the Brayton cycle conversion is actually a telescoping fixture. It's a telescoping lattice. So when this thing is all folded up, it'll just look like a really long box. Okay, I just saw what you sent me. That's pretty cool. Nice. Did they say what this is launching on? No, Nervous, they didn't say. They said a launch in 2028. I wouldn't start looking for a launch vehicle for something like this until you're until you're past CDR, right? That's when you would want to start looking for your launches. But your launch vehicle, but there's only two vehicles off the top of my head that could launch this thing. It's Falcon Heavy with the extended fairing or New Glenn. It's one or the other. Nobody else has a fairing that's big enough. At least I don't think. Terran R might be able to do it too. Yeah, Terran R could do that. Or Cargo SLS. Cargo SLS could do it if you put Delta 4 fairing on top of an ICPS, or if you put the Vulcan long fairing. Actually, Vulcan could probably do it too. With its long fairing and the higher energy Centaur on a VC6 configuration, it could probably do it. Yeah, point is nervous. We're targeting the upper echelons of commercial lift capability. I miss Delta 4 Heavy, dude. So do I. I love Delta 4. That's honestly, that's the rocket that just like the shuttle, it's a rocket I grew up with. I always liked Delta 4. I like the orange tanks. I like RS-68s. I firmly believe that if Delta 4 was employed like Falcon 9, that it'd be a much better, history would have been a little bit more kind to it. Where is the payload stored? Inside of the payload fairing. Jared also implied that it could absolutely be sent somewhere else after Mars. Lugia, I would want SR-1 Freedom to be in a cycler orbit. Yeah. I think they should get the ejection angle off of Mars after they drop off Ingenuity, the Ingenuity copters after they do the Mars Skyfall mission. Dial it in to get a proper ejection angle for a cycler and then send it back here. Buzz Aldrin wrote a doctoral thesis on a type of resonant stable orbit that goes between Earth and Mars like every couple of months. It's called a cycler. And basically it grav assists off Mars and the gravity assist shoots it back towards Earth. And then it grav assists off of Earth and that shoots it back towards Mars. And with very little delta V changes, you could just shoot back and forth between Earth and Mars indefinitely. It's really cool because if you watch like a solar system reference camera, like if you have the sun here and your camera's looking at the sun and you have the Earth and Mars orbiting around, it looks like a kaleidoscope. A cycler orbit is really cool. So like in The Martian, yes, put our nuclear-powered sci-fi spaceship in a cycler. That's a great idea, right? For like the 50th time, I say, I knew I agreed with you. Yeah, baby. Are you interested in a slightly more technical explanation of how Hall effect thrusters work? Yes, that makes so much sense. Yes, right? It's a good idea. That actually sounds useful. Yeah, the cycler was the first thing that popped into my head. Lava Eagle, I would love to, but yeah, I have to go to a meeting soon. So, yeah, we're going to pack it in here. I think we discussed ignition pretty sufficiently. That was 3.5 hours. Yeah, I think I'm well equipped to go into Flame Trench tomorrow and belt this out. So I think that's where I'm going to leave you guys. This was fun. This is a good time. Yeah, good stuff, man. We covered a good amount of this. You wouldn't want your propulsion module in a cycler orbit. The thing with the massive amounts of delta V in that orbit doesn't need much delta V. I would say put it in a cycler just to get it back here. My whole idea behind the cycler Aqualux would be to get the thing back and then inspect it. But yeah, good point. All right, guys, that's going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed the extended kind of space news and Kerbal today. Dude, it was a great day. We got a prototype shuttle launched off of the pad, and we proved that the integration workflow actually works. "100% we want the thing back." Yeah, clap. Thank you for the stream. Well, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, just quick side note. I always say thank you for watching at the end of the streams, but you guys, thank you. Thank you for supporting me in this job. I really appreciate it. I can't speak enough, and I can't say thank you enough. Yeah, I haven't really kind of stopped and said, hey, you know, thanks for doing this. You've helped me achieve some of my bucket list life items, like having a shop in my backyard. I just wanted to let you know that I don't take that lightly, you know? I don't take any of this lightly. And I really, 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 really try to bring my A game as best as I can every day, because we should never stop learning about space. We should never stop learning about cars. We should never stop learning about nothing. All right. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for letting me do this. It's a friggin' privilege, and I don't take it lightly. So, thank you. I build spaceships thanks to you. Yeah, you get what you deserve. Thank you? Yeah, all right. Even if you're a Pats fan. Oh, damn, dude. So, yeah, thank you guys. I really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Like, it's a privilege doing this, and I don't know if it's just getting back into Kerbal and kind of getting back into the groove of things, building good stuff in Kerbal, covering crazy space news, playing all these cool games. But I just felt like I haven't taken a second to say thank you in a little while. And yeah, thank you. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And if you're watching on the VOD, thank you for watching to the end. I really appreciate you guys too. I usually check the views on videos, and Space News usually do very well. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I'm going to go. I have a meeting in a little bit, guys. That's awesome, DLTV. Hell yeah, dude. That's killer, man. I'm glad. Aerospace is cool, man. There's so many cool things out there. You should want to experience all this cool stuff. And if anything beats sitting there and dicking around on your phone all day, right? Like, there's some cool stuff out there, and you can get paid to do it. That's freaking sick. I love it. So yeah. So scheduled tomorrow. I will be here around noontime. I don't know. Maybe we should play cities. I think I said we would play cities tonight. We didn't get to it because we didn't get to it. I think we should play cities. Let's work on that racetrack tomorrow before Flame Trench. Yeah? Toilet meeting, EJ. Stat. No, it's not that type of meeting. Those are in the morning. So yeah, I think we'll pop in and we'll play cities. We'll work on our awesome racetrack. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. Yeah, we'll play cities tomorrow, and then we got Flame Trench where we discuss ignition. I get to sit here and spar with Alex, and that's gonna be good. I budgeted a long Flame Trench this week. I had a meeting with NSF this morning, and I was like, Kevin, we're gonna need 3 hours for this, and he's like, what? I'm like, we need 3 hours for this, bro. I'm sorry, it's gotta happen. You know, it's gotta happen. Kevin, this is happening. You know, so yeah. So it should be fun. And then, I don't know, maybe after we play Battlefield with Max and Sawyer and everybody, maybe we'll get Alex to play too. Who knows? But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's good stuff. I appreciate every one of you. I'm not even kidding. So thank you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good night.